Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. We're happy to have you. Nate Washington will be here in just a few hours from now. We'll talk to the former Titans wide receiver about what Cam Ward had to say yesterday. And the subject of discussion with the young quarterback was more about the coaching search than it was about the actual upcoming game. There's still value to be had for Cam and for other young players who might play in this game. We may even see somebody like Jackson Slater, Lucas, for the first time, given Kevin Zeitler's injury. We'll wait to see what the next 2 days of practice look like.
Or Garrett Dellinger.
For the Titans, is that one of the guys that they claimed off of waivers from the Browns?
Correct.
Okay, so some transactions were made. They basically put every safety that started a game for them on injured reserve. Amani Hooker was sick yesterday, according to the coaching staff, so he did not participate in practice. A handful of guys got rest, but mostly it was about Cam, and mostly it was about coaching yesterday. 615-737-1045 is how you chime in. Do you think that Cam Ward should have meaningful input? Not just, hey, Cam, who do you like? I like this guy. Okay, we'll think about it. But meaningful input in the next Titans head coach. He says, and you'll hear from him, but he says he wants to meet all of the candidates. I don't know how necessary you consider that or how necessary they will consider that. But it is something to consider because he's, again, talking about the difference between your average rookie quarterback, your average rookie season. He's not your average rookie. He's the number one overall pick. So, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can interact with the show throughout the course of today's show. Vandy getting a win over Memphis last night, 77-70 in basketball. Took the Commodores to overtime. A closely contested game, but Vanderbilt ultimately able to keep their undefeated streak going. They are 11-0. To start the season before we get into SEC conference play. Did you watch any of this game?
I caught a little bit of the first half.
Were you at a Dave & Buster's last night?
I was at the Opry Mills Mall last night, and about 90% of my time there was spent at the Dave & Buster's, I must say. Showed up to do some Christmas shopping, left with a whoopee cushion from Dave & Buster's.
That's the only thing?
That I hold in my hand, and some candles.
Why do you have the whoopee cushion? I figured that would be back there with him as the headphones fall off my head.
Because I want to get somebody.
Who do you think you're most likely to get? There you go.
These things are just classic, man. Timeless.
Trying to think of the last time.
A timeless instrument.
Like a Chuck E. Cheese type situation where you cash in your tickets at the end of the day and you go home with a whoopee cushion. I feel like that's the last time I've physically seen one.
Dave & Buster's is an adult Chuck E. Cheese.
He tried to get me with it this morning.
Yeah.
Well, he failed.
Did not work.
He doesn't have to get you with it. I feel like you're...
Well, he just saw it.
A natural whoopee cushion.
Gassy enough, yes.
When was the whoopee cushion invented?
Ooh, a great question. I'm going to guess... Do you have it in front of you?
Yes.
I am going to guess 1965.
I'm going to guess 1930s. By J.E.M. Rubber Company of Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
It's a good guess, a very specific guess. Try 218 A.D.
What?
When Roman Emperor Heliogabalus would use animal bladders for crude humor.
What? 218? We got to go back damn near to the dawn of time?
Like I said. A timeless instrument.
Okay.
I think mine was a little more accurate.
Maybe as far as like trademarks are concerned. Preds lost last night, so their first game after the news of Nick Saban being a minority owner, Preds go down to one of the best teams in the league, but 4-1 against the Hurricanes. They give up 3 goals in the third period. And a homestand. Oh, that was quiet. That was cute. It was like a little kitty cat. Yeah, it was like a little kitty cat, saber-toothed tiger.
A sad cat that's been out in the elements.
Homestand will continue against the Maple Leafs and Rangers, but the Nick Saban effect did not last into the Canes matchup yesterday.
So when the Preds inevitably take a slide now, we will blame Nick Saban?
I guess. To me, I saw that news the other day, and I thought, no wonder they've been winning lately.
Well, that's, we didn't talk about that yesterday. I don't know what it means other than he's got financial investments all over the place. He's got a Mercedes dealership in town as well, and it's him and his business partner, right? So I imagine that the business partner is more involved in the day-to-day operation than, I'm sure they'll put Nick Saban in a Preds jersey and take some pictures or something like that. But that's probably about the extent of the involvement that the former Alabama coach will have. Cool thing, though. Anytime you can get a legend involved in a local team, you like to see. It's like Derrick Henry and Giannis being minority owners in Nashville SC. I don't know what it actually means, but it's cool. It's fine. The other part of this is, did you watch any of the bowl game action last night? Did you partake in that at Dave & Buster's?
A little bit. I saw Gas Pipe out there slinging the rock for USF, who lost and came up short on their quest to win 10 games. Obviously, no Alex Golesh. He is fully immersed in his new job at Auburn, but they go down to Old Dominion. I saw when I say Capital One Bowl Mania does something to me, it's because you get plays like Gaston Moore running 5 yards past the line of scrimmage and then launching a ball 50 yards downfield for his receiver to make an absolute circus catch.
That's pretty good.
And Moore get absolutely decked in the process and down being looked at by trainers with a flag down for an illegal forward pass. That's what I'm talking about. That is the essence of Capital One Bowl Mania. But I got a little bit of that, former Tennessee quarterback Gaston Moore, and congrats to the Delaware Blue Hens for taking care of business in the 68 Ventures Bowl.
20-13 over the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. And I watched more of that game than I expected to watch. There wasn't too much that was on last night. I was going back and forth between some basketball and the bowl games. But the highlight of the bowl game, Robert, I would like you to pull up the box score of this Blue Hens and Cajuns, Ragin' Cajuns game.
The 68 Ventures Bowl game?
The 68 Ventures Bowl game. I would like you to pull up the box score, and I would like you to tell me how you think the Delaware Blue Hens quarterback's last name is pronounced, because this was, to me, the highlight of the television broadcast.
I'm still working on this.
Okay, at your convenience.
Have you ever wondered why they didn't just have one more venture?
69 Ventures?
Yeah, why did you just stop at 68? What's the deal with that?
Also,
Just
what is
one
68?
short of the big time.
Is 68 Ventures like a timeshare situation? It seemed to me that they were advertising like a part of the country.
It's an investment company in Daphne, Alabama. Daphne, by the way, a place that is about 50 years behind the rest of the world.
I would never invest with a company that would stop one shy of something great. I think that's
it's right there for you.
Nick Minicucci?
Yes.
Minicucci.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
And the fact that drowns out his counterpart, Louisiana quarterback, Lunch Winfield.
Yeah.
Lunch.
Real good.
Lunch.
All-time name matchup in the bowl game. But yeah, the play-by-play guy who just said Minicucci over and over and over again was delightful to me.
Why?
I don't know. It's just funny.
I'm missing the.
Yeah, could you explain
Could you explain why it's funny?
Yes, because
it's just an Italian last name.
It's just seems to be something that would attract a more gutter element, at least as far as my level of humor goes.
They also have wide receiver Kyrie Duplessis.
What?
Duplessis. Duplessis?
They're just recruiting off of names down there in Louisiana and Delaware.
Great. Ja'Carey Kelly had 3 catches for 25 yards. J-A''Carree. I mean, this is incredible.
On defense, 3 tackles, 1 for a loss. Marge Malumba? I don't think there's a better name team in the country than Delaware.
I mean, by percentage, I think we've found the holy grail of college football names. But there will be more bowl games, obviously, as we work our way through the rest of Capital One Bowl season, as Lucas said. We have how many games so we've got 4 in the books so far. Tonight will be the Xbox Bowl between Missouri State and the Arkansas State. Are they the Red Wolves?
Yes.
Butch Jones's Red Wolves?
Butch Jones's Red Wolves.
At the Ford Center. Wait, at the Star? They're playing at the Cowboys practice facility?
Are they? In Frisco?
We got bowl games at the Cowboys, not just at AT&T anymore. We're doing it at the practice facility for the Cowboys. That's great. And then Friday's Myrtle Beach Bowl, the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, both on Friday before we finally get to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl next Monday. Beyond that, the Cam Ward stuff is something that we will get into later in the show because it does matter, and I do think people are going to be of different minds on this. I don't know how many people think it's entitled that Cam Ward is a rookie who just got here, who's got about as little skin in the game as anybody involved with this organization would say, yes, I would like input, and yes, I've told them that already, before even us asking the question of him yesterday. Or if you think that's his right as the number 1 overall pick. If they're going to build this thing around me, I want to have some say. I want to have some input. I at least want to have some feedback into who this next coach is going to be. But speaking of Cam Ward, played a solid game against the 49ers. The Titans' offense is improving in the last couple of weeks. We're going to hear from Greg Cosell in a snippet of the Install podcast about just why that's happening coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. One of the best things that we do on a weekly basis is our visits with Greg Cosell. We do the Install podcast every Thursday morning, so Greg and I knocked one out today. And we always like to play a portion of that for you on the radio show, so you can go back and hear the full analysis after the fact, give you a little taste of where the Titans' offense is actually improving. And it's not just a Cam Ward thing. There's, as is the case with any kind of football conversation, it's not just about one element, but how these elements function and coalesce with one another to create a better version, a more streamlined version, a more efficient version of what the Titans are ultimately aspiring to be. Now, we put it out to a poll at Buck Rising on Twitter, and you can always vote on the polls. We will update those, of course, at the end of the show. And just out of curiosity, I asked, what's the biggest reason that the Titans offense looks better in the last month? And the options were Cam Ward, Tony Pollard, the coaching, or the offensive line. So you'll hear from Cosell on all of those things right now. Welcome into the Install with Greg Cosell. It's week 16 and a game that looked like it might have a little more juice, Greg, for a couple of different reasons, if for no other reason than just to watch Patrick Mahomes at Nissan Stadium this weekend. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Just a really tough weekend as far as injuries across the NFL.
Yeah.
Went to some teams that were still vying to keep their playoff hopes alive and some teams who were very much still in it.
Yeah, no, with Mahomes obviously being out for the year, Micah Parsons being out for the year. I guess we're speaking on a Thursday morning. Devontae Adams is not playing this evening. And I know they kept saying he was doubtful, but the way he just went down watching that game doesn't look like that's going to be, a 1-week injury. So, yeah, a lot of big names. But, I always try to remember each season, and I lose track because I get so wrapped up in each individual season as it's happening. I think there's probably a lot of injuries every year. It's the nature of the game. It's just that each year we go, oh my God, it's the worst. But I don't know. I mean, it's just someone like Mahomes, obviously, or Micah Parsons makes it seem like it's worse than any other season.
Yeah, and to your point with that, like the last 2 years, we've had over 65 different starting quarterbacks the last 2 seasons.
Right.
In the NFL. This one just happens to be the most famous of them in a team that we, has perpetually been in the postseason.
Sure.
For damn near a decade at this point in time. So as we move forward, we will talk about Cam Ward today and what went wrong against the Niners on defense, and then we'll talk about the big games this weekend. Greg, the offense for the Titans, I thought, it felt okay. It was just such a game where they were chasing the entire time. The Niners got up on them by 3 scores at a couple of different points. And so you're really not sure how much of their game plan or how much of the plan going in they're able to execute. But for the most part, both run and pass, it felt like a solid game, if not a good game from the Titans.
I would agree. And by the way, I mean, late in the first half, they were in the game. They had the ball late in the first half with an opportunity to tie the game. It was just a shame on that incompletion to Jefferson where, that would have been a touchdown. It was a great call, by the way. It was sluggo. And obviously Jefferson was wide open. But Farrell drove back Udo into the pocket, and Ward stepped on Udo's foot as he threw it, and he wasn't really able to follow through, so he couldn't really control where he was throwing the football. And it's a shame because he hit that, and it's a tie game at halftime. And I'm not saying they win the game, but it makes it feel like a different game. But so in the first half, it was a pretty competitive game.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to your point about some of the things that went into that miss, that was probably the biggest miss for Cam on the day that could have given them an opportunity to at least make it a close game.
I don't really view that as a miss because I looked at that really carefully. I mean, like I said, first of all, Ward had no space because Udo, was driven right back into the pocket. So then Ward, when he stepped on Udo's foot, which caused a balance issue. And at the same time he did that, his body was being driven into, so he was totally leaning backwards and he couldn't follow through. So it wasn't, just a miss. Oh my God, he missed an easy one. It wasn't a miss like that. it became a very hard throw. I'm sure when you're watching you go, oh my God, he missed a wide open receiver, but it wasn't a miss in the way we think of a miss.
No, and that's important context because he made a lot of really nice throws in this game. Like
Yeah.
the touchdown to Helm was an impressive play, and then the incompletion to DK where he gets flushed from the pocket to his
Oh
right
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he whips it across his body, and DK just can't come up with the catch. He's been a pretty reliable receiver, but they're just asking so much of these rookies right now across the board, Greg.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you have the two rookie wideouts, you have the rookie tight end, but you mentioned the Helm 34-yard touchdown, beautifully designed play. I mean, it was the kind of play where the 49ers they were in their big nickel. So many teams play big nickel now, including until Winston got hurt, including the Titans, where you play with three safeties as kind of your base defense. But on that particular play, the Helm 34-yarder, the 49ers had a subtle rotation from a two high structure to cover three, and the Titans had a beautiful two-man route concept into the boundary. Jefferson's post route cleared out the corner, and Helm off his vertical stem then kind of ran a delayed deep wheel route. It's a zone beater concept, and the 49ers play a lot of zone, and so it was a really good call. And it was a 1st and 20 play, and they got what they anticipated, and it was just a well-designed play and a good ball.
Yeah, I've liked their plan the last couple of weeks, Greg, because again, the run game, the different kind of a game than what they were doing against the Browns, obviously with 35 attempts in Cleveland and only 20 against the Niners, but they were having a fair amount of success. They were pretty efficient as far as
Yeah.
their run game went, and I like that they didn't give up on the ground essentially, even as they got behind by multiple scores, because I do think that it still has given them some opportunities to stay in games and to take some of that pressure off Cam. What are your thoughts on how the Titans
Yeah,
execute?
no, and look, I think that's we spoke last week about the fact that he's had the fourth most pass attempts in the league. It's probably maybe he's got fifth or sixth now after this past week. But the point is that's not what you want with a rookie quarterback, and certainly not with a rookie quarterback playing with two rookie wideouts and a rookie tight end. So when you add that into the mix, people probably just look at Cam and go, oh my God, he's not playing great. Why is he not doing this? Why is he not doing that? But it's just hard to do that, to have everybody grow at the same time. They all need reps, they all need experience. There's going to be a lot of uneven play. And really, until 2 weeks ago, and we discussed this numerous times, they had no run game whatsoever, which, obviously you'd love to be in a situation with a rookie quarterback and rookie receivers and an O line that has a pedigree. I mean, it's not as if they're playing, five rookies on the O line. I mean, this O line has a pedigree. You'd like to be able to at least have the run game be somewhat sustaining. Really, until 2 weeks ago, it was not that at all. And that puts way too much pressure on everybody involved. It's just the quarterback is the most visible and the and for the fan, in their mind, the most easy to see because he's either making a throw or missing a throw. So that becomes easy to see. But if they can, if the run game can continue to be a factor over these next three games, and Ward does not have to have 40 dropbacks in each of the next three games, maybe we'll continue to see some incremental improvement. Now, I will say this, and you know me, I study quarterbacks in great detail and have been fortunate to have been taught by really smart people about the position. And I think the one thing, not the one thing, or the only thing, but one thing that this offseason has to be about for Cam is his footwork and his balance on his drop and in the pocket. That has to be focused on. It's not just a matter of reading coverage. There's multiple elements to playing the position. Obviously, you have to be able to know what you're looking at, but it starts with the fundamentals of the position and his footwork, his balance. Too often, he's not ready to deliver the ball with balance and a firm base. So when that happens, Buck, when you do see a throw that you want to make, you start to rush. You rush yourself because you're not really in a ready position to throw, and that needs to be cleaned up. That needs to be worked on. That whoever the new coach is, I'm hoping they know this. I would assume they do. I mean, these are coaches. If I see it, coaches see it. Now it's hard to fix this kind of thing during the season, but this is the kind of thing that in the off season he needs a crash course. You need to start from scratch, a crash course in the lower body mechanics and the fundamentals.
Yeah, and that's really the only time that he's going to be able to drill down on that in a normalized offseason where he's not going through the whole draft process and has the time
Yeah,
to be able to go through this and hyper focus on it to start to make those incremental improvements. So he can still have the splash plays, but start to make some of the more routine stuff, integrate some of the more routine stuff into his game. The other part of this that will need to be addressed in the offseason is the defense. I mean, the body's dropping
yeah,
on defense all over the place in this game, Greg. Cedric Gray gets a concussion. We now know that Kevin Winston Jr., along with Xavier Woods and Mike Brown, three safeties are done for the year. They placed them on injured reserve, season-ending injured reserve earlier this week. Kyle Shanahan, we talked about this. Your game planning and defending the scheme, and the scheme was excellent, creating opportunities for
yeah.
Pearsall, for Kittle in this game. Juwan Jennings finding the end zone a couple of times. They just didn't have an answer. The only time they stopped the Niners on defense in this game was that fumble that Jeff Simmons forced, and they don't ever get that call in those situations.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean it's a hard offense to play against, particularly when you're short people. And obviously they had to go to plan B because Winston got hurt early, and Big Nickel, since he's been playing and starting, has essentially been their foundation personnel package. Um, except when they were to play dime and clear passing situations, and then they had to move off that. They really could not play that way. So you saw them use kind of Ward and Harrell as kind of wild cards within the context of their base personnel offense, because instead of those guys lining up always on the ball, as they had pretty much done all season long, all of a sudden, as you saw, they lined up off the ball, either removed from the formation or as a stacked linebacker, and now you're asking guys to do things you probably didn't practice a lot, just because that's not who they are. They're defensive linemen. So, you had to go to plan B, and you're playing against an offense that is really well schemed. I mean, there are just certain plays, when I was watching that tape, like when he threw to Kittle for 23 yards on the first possession on 1st and 10, I just, typed in and I said, that's a Shanahan special, you know. And Winston was in the game then, and he's the flat defender, and he technically the ball was caught in his area, but just the way they used the run game, he was caught reacting hard to the run action, and so he's out of position. He's the flat defender, and they know that. They do that kind of stuff every single week, the Niners, and there are teams that are just really good at that stuff, at putting a defender in conflict. That's a Shanahan special.
All due respect to Gardner Minshew, we're not going to spend too much time on this coming game with the Chiefs here in Nashville. It's unfortunate that we won't get to see Mahomes,
Yeah.
and unfortunate that neither of these teams has any postseason consequences taking place in this game. There are huge games all over the board this weekend. Of course, you can get ready for the weekend with the NFL Matchup Show and get all the deep dives, all the X's and O's analysis with Greg and the rest of the crew. TNF, though, Thursday Night Football with the Rams at the Seahawks, Greg. Huge game in the NFC. A rematch that saw the Rams get the better of the Seahawks a couple of weeks ago. But, despite Sam Darnold throwing a bunch of picks in that game, Seattle still found ways to make it close. What do you look for in this matchup tonight?
I just find the Rams to be one of the most fascinating offensive teams this year because of the dramatic change that Sean McVay made week 7 when he decided to go high percentage 13 personnel. Now, there's only 2 games he's not done that since week 7, and one was against the Seahawks. But think about this. We know there's no Devontae Adams tonight. So you would assume that they'll play a lot with 3 tight ends, just so people understand 13 means 1 back and 3 tight ends and only 1 wide receiver. So think about this. In the last 2 games, okay, they played the Cowboys and they played the Lions. They had 40 snaps of 13 personnel versus the Cowboys. They gained 313 yards on those plays. They had 43 snaps versus the Lions. They gained 382 yards and had 22 first downs and 5 touchdowns just out of 13 personnel. So this has really become a foundation piece to what they do. And this kind of dramatic change, Buck, during a season like this, you normally don't see that in such an extreme way. A team might decide, oh, we want to play a little more of this personnel package. So instead of playing it 9 times, they play it 17 times. But you went from weeks 1 through 6, they did not play 1 snap with 3 tight ends. And since week 7, they're playing 42% of their snaps in 13 personnel. That blows me away.
So that is Greg Cosell, a part of Greg Cosell, and his visit with me this morning on our weekly podcast called The Install, where you can subscribe and get it wherever you get your podcasts. It is also available, the video version, each and every Thursday morning on 104.5 The Zone's YouTube channel. So subscribe while you're there.
Do you know who the fourth tight end on the Rams is?
Give us a hint.
Wait.
He is a Titans legend.
Ooh.
Is it Anthony Ferkser?
No. Is it Jeff Swaim?
No. He was on the team last year.
Oh, damn. What's the next-gen version of Jeff Swaim?
Yep. Big old boy. Played at Ohio.
Nick something?
Nick.
Oh.
He's not a car. He's not a truck, but he's something that would pick up children and offer candy.
Vanette.
Vanette,
Oh,
yes,
Nick
we
Vanette.
got
Goodness.
there. Titans legend.
Titans.
Nick Vanette.
Legend Nick Vanette. Yeah, because doesn't he wear like 47 for them or something like that?
38.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Because he played in the game against the Titans. I was like, oh, Nick Vanette, Titans legend. Absolutely.
Totally forgot about Nick
Yeah,
Vanette.
but think about the idea that we're talking about, how difficult it is just to get the Titans coaching staff to run a bit more pre-snap motion to help Cam Ward identify things. And Sean McVay in the middle of the season is just changing their entire offense. And that they can just do that on a whim.
Yeah, he
and
also...
it kind of works for them too, because Devontae Adams is injured. So like now you just have Puka on the field with 3 tight ends and your running back, and it kind of forms to what they have.
Also, how about Puka Nacua? Did you see this the other day? He's saying that
talking about refs?
Yeah. He's in. So this is that streamer you were talking about that you lied to that kid at the zoo and said, what are we doing?
Aiden Ross, yes.
It's my first exposure to Aiden Ross. Apparently he's big time streamer, if you pay attention to that world. And Puka Nacua is on an Aiden Ross stream talking about how refs will just make calls for attention because they want their friends to see them on
TV.
Night Football.
It's not great. I don't know why any team media would allow somebody to go on Aiden Ross's stream.
Well, unless he didn't tell them.
That's a possibility. But yeah, don't let Puka go on questionable podcasts anymore.
God, and this is, if this is what the new world of media is going to be, that's fine. I guess we just have to adapt to it. But this TMZ article, Los Angeles Rams Pro Bowl wide receiver Puka Nacua voiced his displeasure with the refs during a recent live stream with Aiden Ross and Neon, but it's Neon spelled N3ON.
Oh, he just started doing that. He's a little goober too.
So I'm now going to have to start citing the journalistic resources of Aiden Ross and Neon with a 3. Okay. Anyway, as we talk about this, do you think the Titans coaching staff has done a better job around Cam Ward? Because Cosell is indicating, and Ben Jones is indicating, that they are changing some things, that they have made things a bit more simplistic in the way that they execute their rushing attack. It also helps that the offensive line is playing considerably better football than they have as a unit all year long.
Yeah, I talked to Ramon about this yesterday, that the 2 best offensive line performances of the year for the Titans have come with Lloyd Cushenberry sidelined for one, and their left tackle Dan Moore sidelined for another. And Ramon's best explanation for it was they just decided to not get embarrassed, right? At some point, it's a point of pride, and they did it against 2 stingy fronts, right? They limited Myles Garrett, the best defensive player in the NFL, who, by the way, is 1 sack away from tying that record, a sack and a half away from breaking the T.J. Watt, Michael Strahan record.
Niners on a stingy front, but they do have a good coach, and they're a well-coached unit. They're a bottom 7 unit in terms of efficiency.
Well, they're a very banged-up front.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that there's not reasons for it, but it's for the Browns, absolutely, you are correct. For the Niners,
Like they're still
not a good defense.
Top 1/3 rushing defense in the NFL, but that's where the 2 best performances of the offensive line came this year. So that has a lot to do with it. Cam Ward has not been supported by a run game all season, apart from those 2 games. So I imagine that has a lot to do with it. And tight end involvement feels like it has had a bit of an uptick. Like Chig Okonkwo is still this team's lead receiver in 2025.
Somebody on YouTube says there's an actual conversation that needs to be had about how much of a fraud Bill Callahan is, though, talking about how little progress we were seeing from the offensive line and the running game when Bill was still a part of the coaching staff.
I would say the most disappointing aspect of this era
is him.
Yes, has to be. Has to be.
Well, I would say that his son is a bigger disappointment than him, but you don't get him without the son.
his son came in. Obviously, yes, it was a very disappointing tenure, but the expectation level for Bill Callahan was sky high as opposed to Brian. We didn't know what we were going to get from Brian Callahan as a head coach. Nobody did. You hoped it would work, that it would translate, that he'd be the next rising star offensive coach in the NFL that's young and promising. Bill Callahan, we didn't hope. We knew. We thought we knew.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, okay. Finally. Finally.
Jesus. Isn't that what Slay called him?
Yeah. And his resume, kind of justified that. But that was finally, the offensive line, we can be sure, will be improved because the best offensive line coach, arguably, in the NFL is coming to Nashville, and it did not happen.
Yeah. Somebody on the YouTube chat says O-line Judas, not O-line Jesus. So, okay. That just makes me think of Baby Billy from Righteous Gemstones. Teenage Jesus. What a great bit. Anyway, we have some opt-outs regarding the University of Tennessee. We have the Music City Bowl coming up in just a few weeks from now. We'll get you updated with the latest coming up next. Dealer. Let's face it, buying a vehicle should be straightforward and stress-free, and that's exactly how Two Rivers Ford has been doing business for decades. This locally owned dealership has a non-commissioned sales team whose only focus is to find you the right vehicle at the right price without the pressure. So you'll actually have a fun car buying experience. Great prices, easy financing, and a non-commissioned sales team. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. 15 minutes, 14 minutes, 13 and a half minutes until Hattie B's near you, if you're hanging out in Middle Tennessee, opens their doors. You can also get them in Vegas, now in Huntsville, Birmingham, Dallas, Austin. Hattie B's Hot Chicken Takeover all over the country.
That's what my dad wanted for Christmas.
Hattie B's?
Yeah, he told me that if I did not bring him some Nashville hot chicken when I came back, that he would be upset. And I said, well, there's only one place to go. There's only one place to answer that request. So I will be going to Hattie B's to pick him up some before I leave.
How's it going to travel exactly?
It's going to travel well because if my daddy wants it, my daddy gets it.
Okay.
What are you going to get him?
The hottest thing they got.
Oh, yeah? He's a big spicy food guy?
No, he's not. He's a big weenie.
Ah.
But be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, he wants hot
This is
chicken.
the man who used to tell me, shut up. Get back to work.
Oh, yeah.
He used to tell me the whoopings will improve until morale does.
You're not a dinosaur.
Yeah. Grow up. Those who don't listen must feel.
God.
As his wide stretched hand whooped my behind.
So instead of you getting physically hit by your father, you're going to metaphorically hit him back with some shut the cluck up.
Well, we'll say spanked. We'll say before I will metaphorically spank him with some shut the cluck up.
You know, the hotter the heat level, the better it probably keeps. Honestly, it's just preserved in all those hot chicken spices.
There is a difference as a kid, I feel like, if you say parents hit their kids versus spanked their kids.
What's the difference?
I feel like there's a difference.
Spanking is you deserved it.
Yeah. Spanking feels disciplinary. Hitting feels like it gets into territory of,
I was
I don't know.
I was
you're
never
not going to close fist punch your children?
No, I was. You're not allowed to do that, at least publicly. I was never hit with this object, but I was threatened with it. My dad had a cutting board that he cut holes through with like a wood drill, and he called it Mr. Meaner.
Oh,
and he was like, he just look at it.
That's like what they do with like. Do frats still do like paddles and stuff like that?
I'm not sure. I wasn't in one.
No, I didn't either, but I had friends that they did them as like, like symbolistic type of things instead of like rite of passage. We have to hit you with a paddle that has holes drilled through it to allow the air to pass through the paddle as opposed to it being slowed down.
It was just there to make your butt look like Swiss cheese.
I think hazing has become a lot more psychological these days.
I feel like that's not good.
I don't know. I feel like some people would rather
mind games.
Harder to get caught.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I didn't tell him to sort the M&Ms by color and then cut a strobe light on. What are you talking about?
And then cut a strobe light on.
Yeah, I do know that was my buddy that was in a frat had to do that.
Oh my God! All right, so Vols who are hitting the portal. We have 5 Vols. One name that probably most people are going to know, Jake Merklinger, the quarterback, is hitting the portal. 4 other players, Brendan Ains.
Local guy, Page High School.
Jamal Wallace, Kellen Lindstrom, Marcus, is it Gorey?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay, very good. If you don't know, then I don't feel the need to know.
Nope.
And then Jake Merklinger. The other players, the 3 other players for the Vols who are opting out of the bowl game because they will be declaring for the draft, Jermod McCoy, who obviously did not play this season, and figures to be a top draft pick, Chris Brazel, the wide receiver, and then Arion Carter, the linebacker, who missed a lot of time this year. And I'd be curious to see what the draft evaluations are of him because he's a very specific kind of player. And I don't know how much, you've got tape on him from last year too, but double turf toe is not a great way to end your final season in college.
Yeah, and he ended up coming back and still led Tennessee in tackles for the last 2 years. But yeah, it's a big miss for Tennessee in the middle of the defense, and now they'll kind of turn to Jeremiah Thielander, Edwin Spillman, and some young players, Jaden Perlotti, and others in this new Jim Knowles defense. But it's not been a terribly newsy start to the offseason for Tennessee as far as that's concerned. Chris Brazel is probably the biggest, most obvious move. Everybody assumed after a breakout year, 1,000-yard season, he's gone. The Tulane transfer who had a big year 2 leap this season, not going to play in the bowl game, and same goes for Arion Carter. We are now waiting on Lance Hurd. To me, that's the logical next player that everybody's eyes kind of turn to see what his decision is, if he's going to go into the draft, if he's going to play in the bowl game, or if he's going to come back and play next year. And what would that mean for David Sanders, who I think is kind of assumed to be Tennessee's left tackle in waiting, the 5-star freshman. Injured start to the season, ended up starting at right tackle at the tail end of the season. Would they run it back like that with Lance Hurd on the left, David Sanders on the right? That's probably best case scenario for Tennessee, talent-wise, to be bookended by a pair of 5-stars, including one extremely experienced player on the left side in Lance Hurd, who had a really solid season. Like, we didn't talk about Lance Hurd once all year, which is a very good thing. So I don't know what his draft prospects would be. Maybe a day 2 pick. I'm not sure. But that's who we look to next. And then Colton Hood, the cornerback who transferred in from Colorado, had a really nice year. I think is catching the eye of a lot of draft analysts. Obviously, Jermon McCoy missed the entire season with an ACL. He's a projected first-round pick. I don't know that Colton Hood is that far off of Jermon McCoy in terms of the cornerback class in the 2026 NFL draft. But those are kind of the next two that we look to next. Lance Hurd and Colton Hood, as it pertains to playing in the bowl game or not, and playing in 2026 or not.
615-737-1045 is the number if you would like to chime in. F&M Bank Chat also available for you to leave your comments about it. I'm looking forward to it. Sounds like we're going to go to the Music City Bowl.
I'm down. Yeah. I mean, look, anytime you get an SEC and a Big Ten team playing each other and two pretty good quarterbacks are actually playing in the bowl game towards the end of their eligibility, that it becomes rarer and rarer these days in bowl season. So I think it'll be mostly two full-strength teams. I'm not exactly sure what Illinois' opt-out situation is, but I know Luke Altmaier is expected to play in this game. He has said as much. Joey Aguilar will play for Tennessee. Last time Tennessee played a Big Ten team in the Music City Bowl, it was electric. I mean, it was a shootout into the 40s. In overtime, a controversial loss for Tennessee, but Aiden O'Connell threw for 1,000,000 yards. Hendon Hooker threw for 1,000,000 yards. I don't know that we'll get something like that, but could be a fun game between two solid teams that I think you would say had disappointing seasons. Both were at one point or another, if not in the college football playoff picture, right on the cusp of it. Illinois, a preseason top 15 team. They were one of those sort of sleepers to make the college football playoff out of the Big Ten.
Indiana football had their way with them.
They did. I mean, the marquee win for Illinois this year, I think, would be the USC game at home. And they end up 8-4. And I think it has a chance to be a good game with minimal exclusions, right? Brazel is definitely the highest profile opt-out to this point, and Tennessee will try to fill that void with a couple of freshmen in Radarius Jackson and Travis Smith. It'll be interesting to see which of those two get more run in this game next week.
Robert, he's really trying to sell us on this game, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm excited for Tennessee and Iowa. It should be a lot of fun, a nice drag out.
No, Vandy in Iowa. I don't know what...
Wait. So Tennessee's not playing in the Music City Bowl? We're just not going to see Tennessee, Iowa?
We're going to see Tennessee, Illinois.
I'm not going.
Okay.
Iowa, Illinois. Tomato, tomato.
Yeah. You know what? That's probably fair.
Is Eli Stowers playing in the ReliaQuest Bowl?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. I haven't seen anything to the effect of him opting out.
Me neither. He's probably going to be the first tight end off the board.
What else does he have to prove?
And he received the William V. Campbell Trophy for the best tight end in the country. I'm with you, but, you know, I bet he plays. Or the John Mackey Award is for the best tight end, excuse me.
Coming up next, we'll talk about the biggest games of Week 16 in the NFL. There is postseason consideration on the line before we get back into some Titan stuff with head coaching resumes or coaching resumes of candidates that will be interviewed or that we expect to be interviewed for the Titans head coaching job. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
11:01. Good morning from the Circus Sports at Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. The first Titans injury report of the week is out. Linebacker Cedric Gray did not practice with a concussion. Guard Kevin Zeitler missed practice with a groin. Amani Hooker with an illness. And Van Jefferson didn't practice with a back injury. On Tuesday, the Titans also designated outside linebackers Femi Oladejo and Ali Gay and wide receiver Bryce Oliver to return off of injured reserve. Titans hosting the Chiefs Sunday at Nissan Stadium. In college football news, more quarterback news in the transfer portal, which opens in January. Pete Nakos reporting Missouri quarterback Bo Pribula plans to enter the transfer portal. Pribula transferred to Missouri from Penn State just last year. The Nashville Predators fell at home to the Hurricanes 4-1 on Wednesday. The 3-game homestand continues tomorrow against the Maple Leafs. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Huge slate of games in Week 16. The Titans are hosting the Chiefs, but it will be with an eliminated Chiefs team and a team without Patrick Mahomes, so that doesn't quite fit the bill. You're on Cam Ward Watch on Sunday, but beyond that, there are a great many other games that are very enticing. We can talk about Thursday Night Football a little later between the Rams and the Seahawks. We'll probably do that before the show wraps up today. But as I sit here, we do have a Saturday game, 2 Saturday games for the first time this season, as we have now officially gotten every team through their bye week. And we have 2 massive games, both in the NFC and the AFC, that I think are going to take up a lot of the oxygen over the course of this weekend. Now, the Monday Night Football game is going to be fascinating because the Colts are still technically alive. They're on the outside looking in. They would be 8th in the standings right now with the Texans holding on to that wild card. They host the San Francisco 49ers, and it sounds like Phillip Rivers is going to make another start, though Anthony Richardson, as Robert told us earlier, has had his practice window opened up for him to return from that orbital bone injury that he suffered because he got snapped in the face with a training band, which sounds awful.
What a lineup of primetime games this weekend. I mean, just 3 for 3 here with Rams Seahawks tonight, both 11-3. Winner takes the lead in the division, the NFC West. And then Sunday night to get Patriots Ravens, high stakes for both. Patriots still looking for the 1 seed and the AFC East, which the Bills are still in. Obviously the Ravens fighting for the division. And then to see Phillip Rivers back on Monday Night Football, just fantastic.
So of the biggest games of the weekend, and I'll list them, beyond Thursday Night Football, which I mentioned we'll talk about later, you've got the Packers at the Bears. You've got the battle for the NFC South that nobody seems to want to win. The Bucs hosting the Panthers, the Panthers hosting the Bucs.
First of 2 matchups that'll take place over the next couple of weeks.
You have the Jags and the Broncos, which is a fascinating game. And the Jaguars, after I mocked them for not being a very good team and Trevor Lawrence being untrustworthy, nobody has thrown for more passing touchdowns in the last 5 weeks than Trevor Lawrence, in which they are 5-0.
They are quietly the hottest team in the league, right? Everybody's talking about the Broncos. The Patriots were taking the league by storm with their win streak, but...
Well, listen, the Broncos won 11 in a row, so technically the Broncos are still the hottest team in the league.
Yeah, but quietly, the Jags are the hottest team that nobody's talking about. They have not lost since a trip to Houston on November 9th. And they've beaten the Chargers and the Colts on that path. They have taken advantage of some strength of schedule ease as the Cardinals and Titans and Jets are included in that win streak.
Steelers, Lions, both 8-6. Lucas mentioned the Patriots at the Ravens. Pats 11-3. They just had their 10-game win streak broken by the Bills because they blew a 21-0 lead. Ravens 7-7 right now. And then that Niners-Colts game. So of these big games, about half the slate has meaningful football in it this weekend. Which is the most interesting matchup to us? Robert, you want to start? I mean, you're obviously invested in this Ravens-Patriots game. But.
Right, but I think the most interesting game outside of my own fandom would be the Steelers-Lions game because of the impact it has on both the NFC and AFC's playoff picture. If the Steelers lose, not the end of the world for them because they still have the head-to-head matchup against Baltimore to end the season. The Lions on their last legs attempting to get into the NFC, which seems like you have to have a godlike season if you are not going to win your division. I'm not exactly sure their odds if they lose this, but still one game back from squeaking into the wild card. Their chances to win the division are all but swept up. That's why I think the Lions Steelers is most interesting to me.
Lucas?
I love the possibility of a team with a losing record getting in and hosting in the playoffs. So give me the NFC South, baby. Give me the struggling Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the who the hell are we identity crisis Carolina Panthers as my favorite game of the weekend. 2 7-7 teams who seemingly just don't want to be in the division lead in the NFC South. And the fact that there very well could be an 8-9 team hosting a playoff game.
Why is it always the NFC South? There's always like a Ron Rivera,
Always.
Cam Newton, Carolina Panthers team that sneaks in with a losing record.
It brings me so much glee.
I mean, for me, it's impossible to not say this Jags-Broncos game. Because what happened? So Trevor Lawrence, we're going to see him really tested. Last week, they beat up on the Jets. He had 5 touchdown passes, okay? We're not giving the Jags too much credit for beating up on a bad opponent, though they damn near put up 50 points. And he was awesome. Jets don't have an interception on the season. Don't get after the passer very well.
That's so insane to not have one interception.
Not
as a
an
defense.
interception.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I know Sauce Gardner doesn't play there anymore, but that's insane.
Sauce was there for the vast majority of the season.
Yeah, until the deadline, that's just insane.
So, the Jags have been excellent on offense. The Jags, if you go back and look at their schedule here in the last couple of weeks, the teams that they have beaten in route to being on this 5-game win streak. Do you remember last game the Texans lost, either of you? Unless you're looking directly at the schedule.
Last game the Texans lost?
Excuse me. I gave it away.
The Jags?
The Jags
Yeah,
lost.
it would
to
be the Texans.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the show. That's what I said maybe 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
That their wins in that stretch are against the Cardinals, the Titans, and the Jets. Now, they demolished the Chargers, like completely destroyed the Chargers.
They do have a win against the Colts, but that was the game that Daniel Jones got hurt.
Correct. And that curse continues for Indy in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
They held Justin Herbert to 81 passing yards. Like, this Jags defense is legit.
It's good.
They force turnovers, and they have come up big in some moments. But, yes, their resume is not, like, if this was college football, like, their playoff resume would not exactly stand out in terms of really good wins, right? What's their best win so far, their most impressive win? The Chargers?
No, it's probably a Chiefs game. I mean, I know the Chiefs.
Yeah, it was in prime time. It was early October, so yeah. Prime time. Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm between the Texans win that they got earlier in the season in Week 3 and that Chiefs win.
I mean, just how comprehensive that Chargers victory was really impressive.
No, sure.
But they're a good football team. Like, the Chargers can cause problems for anybody they play.
Well, and the Broncos are a team that lives off causing problems for any team, especially on defense. This is a game that the Broncos very much need. A conference win would be huge for them as they continue to pad their resume for that number 1 overall seed. Broncos 12-2 right now and riding an 11-game win streak at this point in time. I just want to see Trevor Lawrence prove it against. I mean, this is going to be the best quality opponent. He's beaten the Texans defense so far this year. The Jags beat the Texans this year. So how well Trevor Lawrence did in that game, I'd have to go back and refresh my memory. It's been 2 months since we've seen that. But going to Denver and beating that defense, even if it ends up being an ugly game and he doesn't play as well as he has been, that would be their best win of the season.
Easily would be their best win. 100%.
The other games of consequence here, as we look at the seeding, 4 teams right now.
Man, the fact that there's a legit fight for the 1 seed in both conferences is cool with 3 games left.
Yeah, but the NFC feels open for business. The AFC, I don't know. I mean, it's just all kind of.
There's 1 game separating the Patriots and Broncos. Like, it can completely be. Yes, if the Broncos beat the Jags at home and the Pats lose to the Ravens, then would Denver seal the 1 seed if that happens?
Say that again?
The Broncos can clinch the 1 seed in the AFC if they win and if New England loses, but they would also need the Chargers to lose to the Cowboys and the Bills to lose to the Browns.
Okay.
That's crazy. So there are the fact that I guess the Bills are 10-4. So
yeah, they're alive. I mean, they could still win their division. Yeah.
They're 2 games back in the 1 seed. So nobody's clinching the 1 seed this weekend. But the Broncos would create some healthy distance if they win and the Patriots lose.
Yeah, Bills are winners of 3 straight. And it would be, for all of Josh Allen's accomplishments, if Myles Garrett had a game against Josh Allen that ended up making the Bills look a bit moral, because they are squeaking by with these things, right? They needed a Cincinnati collapse and a Patriots collapse to get back into that game. There's good defensive adjustments by Sean McDermott and that staff. Once they started spying Drake May, they took his legs out of it. They weren't able to run the ball as effectively against that Bills defense. Cleveland, I don't know. Shador looked bad this week.
So the only teams that can clinch division titles this weekend are the Eagles, who play the Commanders, who have shut down Jaden Daniels the rest of the year. A win clinches the NFC East. And is that it?
The Eagles.
Right. That's right.
The Broncos, excuse me. They would clinch the AFC West with a win or a Chargers loss.
And a Chargers loss. They would need both.
Oh, yes, correct. Yeah.
So let's... listening is apparently hard for us, too, based on the evidence of this segment. All right. Of the 7 AFC teams that are currently in the postseason picture, and Texans and Colts could swap spots at some point, but let's just take it 1 through 7 right now. Broncos, Pats, Jags, Steelers, Chargers, Bills, Houston. Who do you have the least amount of confidence in? To me, it's the Chargers.
Oh,
I don't trust them.
Yeah, the Chargers are the easy answer because of the tackle situation, the injuries that they've suffered on both sides of the ball.
And not even that. Just, I don't trust him yet. He hasn't acquitted himself yet well in postseason play. He had a bunch of interceptions last year in the playoffs. The only other playoff game he's been in, if I'm not mistaken, is that collapse against the Jags.
I will say this. If the Patriots lose to the Ravens, then that answer slowly starts to become the Patriots for me, because their schedule has kind of hit this patch of starting to have to play teams above the playoff line. And then we would start to see that strength of schedule or lack thereof rear its head. If the Patriots lose to Baltimore, I will kind of see them as a team that is, yes, ahead of schedule and has done an incredible and impressive job. And Drake May, still an MVP candidate, but maybe not the contender they've looked like over the last few weeks, beating up on bad teams. The Chargers have had back-to-back impressive wins, though. I get the Chiefs are eliminated from the playoffs. It's not the Chiefs we've grown accustomed to, but they went into Arrowhead, and Pat Mahomes didn't tear his ACL until the final drive of that game. Chargers were defending a 3-point lead at Arrowhead Stadium, and that followed up an overtime win against the Eagles. So the Chargers have 2 wins over the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl last year. But I'm with you in terms of believe it when you see it with Justin Herbert in the playoff, and he's trying to do it without his top 2 tackles.
It's just like a Chargers thing. Like, they have a stigma around them. They're almost like, I mean, Vanderbilt's different, right? But Vanderbilt has a stigma this year. Like, oh, I don't believe it. It's Vanderbilt. They can't possibly be doing this. But no, they're actually that good. The Chargers also have that choking dog stigma around them.
Who would be snubbed if this was a college football playoff committee situation? If we decided to implement the committee into the NFL.
Oh, my God.
And then we're going based off, like, brands and resume and what's a good win versus a bad win.
I was going to say the AFC North then, but, I mean, that's brands. You can't do that. Maybe the NFC South.
Yeah,
you would
definitely
probably kick the Panthers or the Bucks out.
That's right. They'd be the ACC of the NFL.
Why do I feel like it would be Houston, though? Like, if we're talking about, like, an actual scenario where a team would be snubbed, because the Houston Texans, nobody cares about the Houston Texans.
See, I would say the Chargers, because I think people do care about the Texans, and they have a more front-facing people other than just their coach and quarterback in the form of the Chargers, and the Chargers have no fans.
Yeah.
True. Chargers do not have much of a fan base.
Except that one guy that called us last year to talk smack. It was weird.
That was weird.
We had, like, a Chargers fan.
Good for him.
Texans have arguably the best defense in the league, too.
Fun note on the Patriots before we move on from that game. 3 losses this year. All have happened at home. None have happened on the road. They had 2 Baltimore.
That Raiders game was at home?
That Raiders game was at home.
So
the
weird.
Steelers game was at home, and they just lost to the Bills at home.
That's like the Seahawks and Mike McDonald's record, home versus away. Like, he's a way better – he is statistically way better on the road than he is in home games.
They're not perfect on the road, though, right? So the Patriots are perfect on the road.
Yes, sir.
So they're due, is what you're saying.
Don't get me excited, dude. Don't. Tease me.
I'm a big law of averages guy.
I'm just a big, I don't want to be sad guy. I can't sit through Christmas and be crying.
Why do you keep trying to do 6, 7 things?
No, I'm doing law of averages.
Everyone knows that's the natural law of average, where you look like you're juggling invisible
Like
balls.
I'm balancing.
I don't know what's worse, him doing that or him bouncing that teddy bear on his knee at
No,
Toy
it's the
Field.
teddy bear. Him having that bear bounce crazy on him was one of the more problematic things I've ever seen.
What's the chance he can get Blaine with that whoopee cushion when the show's over?
Is that what that noise is that you're making? Into?
Yeah, I'm
Do it really slow.
I'm inflating it.
Push it out really slow.
I'm gonna get Blaine. I'm gonna get somebody.
You can definitely get Blaine. Don't blow it up as much. That's the secret.
You don't have to. You don't even have to. Wait, Blaine's listening. Blaine listens to
Yeah,
it.
he does. Yeah.
Crap. The other Blaine, not Blaine Bishop. A
jig is
different,
up.
a different Blaine that works here. Definitely not you, Blaine. A different Blaine. Still put it in his chair.
I would hope that Blaine would be so offended by the fact that you would do that to him that he would just flatten one of you.
Dave and Buster's whoopee
It
cushion.
would be worth it to hear Blaine let a big toot out.
Is that the joke that will never grow out of as a society? Fart jokes.
No, I don't know why people don't think farts are funny anyway. Cheyenne gets so mad. I have one of the funnier sounding farts, I think, just because of natural blubber and space and area and all that. I think that my farts are uniquely equipped to be funny. Cheyenne never finds them funny.
Well, she has to live in the space.
She's
smell it, but-
breathing that air.
You guys should hear her toot. Lord, that woman could clear.
Don't do this to her.
Could clear a room.
Don't do this to her.
And she's not even sleeping. She's like tries to. Well, the other night she let one out just like a.
Oh, stop.
Let it out, and then I looked over at her. She acts like she's asleep.
She does not deserve
she
this
starts-
right now.
Snoring.
She is too good to you for you to be doing this to her.
She's all right.
I would leave so fast if that.
Look at me and be like, what was that? I'm scared. That was you.
Somebody in the YouTube chat said some men pay for that. What? I'm concerned.
I'm going to get somebody with this thing.
We'll talk about Titans coaching candidate resumes coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. So yesterday, we were going to have this conversation, and we kind of got sidetracked in a good way. Lucas, we sent you home for the noon hour because your sentences were starting to become nonsensical. But we had a conversation about the most important trait to fans. Not to Cam, not to Amy, not to me, although me and Robert gave our opinions on it, but to fans. What's the most important, the single most important quality that the next Titans head coach has to have for you to be okay with that? So that could be your background. Are you an offensive guy or are you a defensive guy? That could be your experience. Have you done this job before? It could be, for me, it was relationships with the people that you're going to be working with, because the complications of the Titans' working office dynamics, I don't know how it is in 31 other places. I know it's kind of convoluted here, and you don't really know if the thing that Chad Brinker says is going to be the thing that Amy Adams Strunk wants to do, because patience over panic was the whole mantra this offseason, and 6 weeks in, she decides, I'm done with that. So you've got a couple of different elements here specific to this job that make it a different kind of job than the other 31. So if I asked you that same question, is there a singular quality among other qualities that a candidate would have that you specifically would have to have in the next head coach, what would you say?
I'd say a thick skin, an ability to insulate yourself from politics that may surround you, and an ability to take what you want to establish, and hopefully, to add to that, is something that you have established elsewhere that you can tinker with, rather than using this job as like a test tube if you're a first-time head coach. The ability to take that and implement it and not let it be affected by outside noise, whether it's media, politics that surround you,
if you can't
any of those things.
If you can't hold up in this media market, you're not cut out for it. Just generally, this is as low profile a media market as you could find.
Yeah. So
what's probably lower on the list? Arizona.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, Phoenix is a massive city.
I think Phoenix is pretty high. Maybe Jacksonville?
No, but people don't care about the Cardinals. If you're in Phoenix, you're talking about the Suns.
Yeah, but do you know that? Have you ever been to Phoenix?
Yes, I was just there.
Yeah, okay, for like 24 hours for a Titans game. But, like, do you know anything?
Yes, I was there. I saw the lack of attendance. I assure you that we had more Titans media members than the Cardinals had in the press box next to us. It was a ghost town. There's not a lot of scrutiny there.
Yeah, I don't know what the Jags situation is either.
The lowest actual media market, we should have got this, is Green Bay.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. For sure. But that's a pressure cooker in and of itself. But, yeah, so I'd say that. I'd say a thick skin, just that sort of ability to be able to institute your culture, be that sort of leader for a team that so badly needs one, and go in your direction without being influenced by that outside stuff.
I would say that you have just cost your coach the opportunity to operate cleanly here, because if you insulate yourself from the way that this place works, you're not going to last in this place very long. Like, I feel like it's almost the opposite. I feel like you have to have a significant amount of, for lack of a better term, office politics, skill in terms of office politics to be able to gut this thing out. Because you can't just block yourself off. John tried that. John Robinson tried that. Mike Vrabel tried that. They said, no, you're not going to do that. We're not going to give you the kind of institutional control that you feel that you should have in this particular situation. You know what? In fairness, she did give it to John. And maybe she's since been burned by the idea that John Robinson did such a poor job when they get. I mean, John was as overarching a Titans GM or coach as any of them. John Robinson was the most individually powerful of any of these people that we've since named. Brinker, Carthon, Callahan, Vrabel. Like, John had it and then burned her with it, kind of, in the way that it played itself out. So I don't think that you can operate that way. I get why you're thinking that way, and it makes sense if this was just another job, but this is not just another job.
That doesn't mean that you close your door to anybody that wants to walk into it that works in the building that is not technically in a football capacity. But I do think an ability to have a set identity that you don't waver from, take some of that thick skin that we never saw an identity even start to form under Brian Callahan.
No, we're doing it now under Mike McCoy, right?
And that's a wash, right? He's an interim coach. Like I'm not interested in a discussion about what is this team's identity under an interim coach with 3 games left.
No, but I'm saying they've done it. It's not been.
Oh, you're saying they've started to form somewhat of an identity.
They're a physical running football team.
Well,
now.
for 2 games, yes. But sure. I mean, that is more than
that.
They've been working towards
games,
that.
Yes.
And there's been more of an intention. Mike McCoy has talked about there being more of an intention to work towards that in these last few weeks. But I don't even know what the closest thing to I don't even know what Brian Callahan really wanted the identity of the Titans to be, right? Like, for better or worse, you think of coaches in the past, you kind of just knew what they were under Mike Vrabel, what they wanted to be.
I feel like we knew what they were under Malarkey too.
And Mike Malarkey and so on. It doesn't mean that
I got here the year that Wiz got fired, so I don't remember.
Well, they ended up not really having an identity under Ken Wisenhunt, but he was brought in as sort of the guru, the guy to mold Marcus Mariota to bring back an explosive offense, bring it up to date, and just none of that happened. To me, Ken Wisenhunt, you brought him in for a lot of the same elements that you brought Brian Callahan, but you thought you had a veteran, experienced coach in Ken Wisenhunt, which you did. He had led a team to the Super Bowl not that long before he got that job, but obviously that did not work at all. I would love for the Titans to have an identity next year, right? Like, it is going to take a lot for the Titans to become a team that is even in the playoff picture, in the graphic, as we say, at the midway point of the season next year. There's going to have to be a lot of hits on draft picks in the upcoming draft, hits in free agency, and some pretty big year 2 leaps, right, for guys like Femi Oladejo and obviously Cam Ward and so on. It's going to take a lot. Regardless of if that happens or not, I just want to know what the Titans are and what they want to be next year, which I feel like we didn't really get in the Callahan era, as short as it was.
So who will have the opportunity, or who will try and have the opportunity to establish all of these things that we're talking about? Adam Schefter was on with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons. This was 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. You can go check out the interview via the podcast or on the Zone's YouTube channel. And he had this to say about the list of names that will be considered here.
Who are the names? I said, well, there's a lot of names, but some of the names, Chris Shula, Rams defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, Packers defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, Broncos defensive coordinator, Matt Nagy, Chiefs offensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, Dolphins defense coordinator, Joe Brady, Bills offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, Seahawks offensive coordinator, Nate Shieldhouse. He's an assistant with the Rams. Those are some names. I think there'll be others. You know, if Kevin Stefanski loses his job in Cleveland, that would be one to watch. Anybody that loses their job as a current head coach would be interesting. Those are some names for you to kick around.
So it's just basically every name that you've heard of, other than the Nate Shieldhouse. That's the first I've heard of the Rams assistant.
I haven't heard Vance Joseph brought up in relation to this job that much. I can see him getting another crack at a head job at some point with how good the Broncos defense has been. But
I don't think Schefter's doing it specific to the Titans. I think Schefter is saying these are the people that will be available to be interviewed.
He did not. There's one name that was omitted.
Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Which, I said this yesterday, you may feel differently. I don't want a 62-year-old Mike McCarthy to be a long-term solution. That's not what that is. It's not the same as Pete Carroll, who's over a decade older than Mike McCarthy. And it doesn't mean that at 62 you can't be a good head coach. I mean, are Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy the actual same age? Is that right? Because I know we talked about how similar their resumes.
Their resumes are almost identical,
which is crazy.
Insane. Like they are so parallel.
Well, you got to think Sean Payton took like 3 years off, so there's more tread on that tire. You know, less carries, less late night grinding film. So like he basically got a red shirt year.
Well, Mike McCarthy has taken many years off of it. He's currently in the midst of one at this point in time. Don't you remember the last one he took off? He said, I was diligently reading, learning about analytics. I know all about Pro Football Focus now. And we all just shrugged our shoulders and said, oh.
Yeah, but he wasn't like on a treadie or something. Like
certainly wasn't on a treadmill.
Sean Payton might have been, though. Dude's looking good. They're both 62. Let's see how close.
Is Payton 61?
Oh, man. They are separated by about 2019, 29, by about 60 days, 50 days.
No way. Sean Payton turned 62 actually in like 11 days.
He's getting close.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
So Christmas or New Year's baby, I guess.
I'm not. Like,
What a terrible time to have a birthday. Right in between Christmas and New Year's.
Do you think people glom his presents together? Like, this is for Christmas
for
and
sure.
your birthday.
For sure.
I would not like
Buck
that at all.
would hate
I would
that.
hate that. It's the best part about July. There's nothing that happens in July. I can make the whole month about me if I want to. I wouldn't be upset with settling for McCarthy. McCarthy also has to want to coach here.
Yep.
So I don't think it's inconsequential that that's not a name that I don't really think you're hearing it that much. Like that's an easy connection to draw because Brinker and the Packers. But I don't think that I would be okay if they ended up being like, all right, if he's the best that we can do, I have no problem with Mike McCarthy. And I don't mind the idea of Mike McCarthy as a gap coach, but I want a longer term solution here. And I guess how many coaches actually get the kind of tenure that, Vrabel got a pretty long leash here. What, 6 years it ended up being?
But
That's double the average.
Well, sure, but there was a pretty big leap in year 2.
Sure.
Right? Like that buys you time in and of itself.
I agree. But it's just, it's a circumstance he did do that. It bought him additional years. 6 years is probably about as good as you could hope for an active NFL head coach right now, given the churn.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go.
Okay, I'll go. TN Fan 11 in the chat says Mike McCarthy as head coach and Josh McCown as OC, potential head coach in waiting. Can any of you tell me the last time a coach in waiting worked out in the NFL? There is one instance in my mind.
Ooh.
In the NFL?
In the NFL.
Coach in waiting working out.
When Tony Dungy left and they went to Jim Caldwell in Indianapolis. That is the last time, at least in my mind, that I can tell you that in coach in waiting worked.
Because they went to another Super Bowl with Caldwell and lost. Right? That was the one they lost to the Saints?
I believe that's correct.
Wait. The Colts?
Yeah.
Did they go to a Super Bowl? They did. They did lose to the Saints.
No, Peyton went to the Super Bowl twice.
Yeah.
He lost.
Year 1, Caldwell took them to the Super Bowl.
Well, Peyton took them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But, it's hard to think. Idiot Garage on the FNM Bank chat says Jason Garrett semi-worked.
Garrett wasn't bad.
Was he a coach in waiting? Didn't they hire him?
He was in-house.
He was on the staff.
He was in-house. I don't know if it was...
He also interviewed for the Ravens opening that year, is what made me wonder if...
Because wasn't that the situation? Was Wade Phillips an interim? Or was he the actual Cowboys coach?
He was the Cowboys head coach.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if Jason Garrett, if it was like a Gerard Mayo situation where it was an agreed upon thing that you are next in line, or if it was more of a Brian Schottenheimer situation. Schottenheimer was not a head coach in waiting, but they ended up going with an in-house candidate after a widespread search. Blaine said something interesting yesterday on Cover 2 when he's talking about Mike McCarthy and this idea that because McCarthy is an older veteran coach and he's won a Super Bowl and has had a lot of success at 2 of the most iconic franchises in the league's history, that it's kind of assumed that he would come in and be able to set his culture and implement it from day one. And Blaine kind of made the argument, how do we know that he did that at Green Bay and Dallas? I know we make fun of the Cowboys all the time, but 2 pretty stable organizations when he took over. Like both had their quarterback, right? And were not coming off years of dysfunction and losing football when...
People might argue that Jerry adds an element of it. But for the most part, like the Cowboys, they don't win in the playoffs, but they've been fine.
But they're usually in the playoffs, right? Like
they were winning 12 games routinely.
Yeah. Jason Garrett, in fact, I'm actually surprised to see that Jason Garrett only made 3 playoffs in his time as the Cowboys coach.
It's tough to do it when you're going 8-8, but
yeah, he had 3 8-8s in a row.
Those are rookie numbers. He's got to get with Jeff Fisher, man.
Yeah, it doesn't even touch it.
I mean, he might be more Jeff Fisher than Fisher is. So, 3 consecutive 8-8s?
He did. His 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year, and then his 5th year is when they lost in the divisional game. The Dez caught it, didn't catch it. Mike McCarthy took over for Mike Sherman in Green Bay. Mike Sherman had gone 4-12. McCarthy took over, went 8-8 his first year, and was in the NFC Championship his second year. So he did have to kind of dig them out of that. And when McCarthy took over for Jason Garrett, they went 6-10 in year 1, missed the playoffs. and then 12-5 in the wild card game year 2, 12-5 in the divisional round year 3. So, he did not exactly get handed great situations on a platter. They were coming off of mostly losing seasons. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Mike McCarthy is as a culture setter. Is that necessarily his reputation?
That's a good question. What is Mike McCarthy's reputation?
I kind of said yesterday, I look at him as a ship rider. Like he is the guy that takes the steering wheel and swerves you back onto the road when it's a little icy.
Like he can manage a situation. He's been in high-profile situations. He's dealt with big personalities. Like he's just kind of he is a stabilizing presence, which, look around you. Can you think of any place that's currently not, or currently in the head coaching market that could, would benefit hugely from a stabilizing presence? And I wonder if that's the direction they're going to go, because what makes Mike McCarthy a stabilizing presence? Is he given full reign over the situation? Because that's not necessarily what his circumstance was in Dallas, right? Like Jerry is always going to supersede you, and Jerry is there every day, right? Amy's not. And that's honestly changed over the course of the last couple of years. Amy was way more day-to-day at the start of her controlling ownership tenure than she seems to be right now. So that again comes back to the complicated office politics of the Tennessee Titans that you have to be prepared to navigate.
Fun little fact before we leave: Jeff Fisher went 8-8 3 times in a row as well. 96 when the Oilers were in Houston, and then when they were the Tennessee Oilers in 97 and 98. He went 8-8 5 times in his career. Never when he was in St. Louis. I always attribute St. Louis as the 8-8s. He went 7-8, 7-9, 6-10, 7-9, 4-9.
Hey, to go 8-8 3 years in a row with the transition from Houston to Memphis to Nashville, he deserves credit for this franchise not just bottoming out at any point during that stretch.
And he deserves a little hat tip because they came in 4th at 8-8 96 in the AFC Central, 3rd in the AFC Central at 8-8 97, and then 2nd in the AFC Central in 98 with 8-8.
Vidal, before we break and talk about another quarterback hitting the transfer portal, Vidal on YouTube says, ew, talking about all of these candidates, give me Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman is being talked about for the Giants job. He is not being talked about here. If I'm Marcus Freeman, I don't want to come here. I want to go to the Giants. I think their ownership is far more patient. I think he's a viable candidate. I don't know if he'll get – it is going to be really interesting to see if he would jump ship, because if he doesn't go – if he doesn't get a job now, when would he actually have a better opportunity to jump?
Oh, he's a young guy. I don't know. I think it'd be foolish to sit here and say it's now or never for Marcus Freeman to the NFL.
Well, I mean, it's more now, or could it ever come around for you like this again? I mean, you're just guaranteeing because he's young that he's going to continue to have a viable situation. Things could change at Notre Dame.
Yeah, that hairline is not getting any crisper. Have you guys seen people doing him dirty, showing his male enhancement on his hairline? We can look that up in the break.
At what age do you start to become self-conscious about that?
I don't know. I feel like as soon as it starts being very obvious, you just need to go ahead and lean all the way in and become Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, just stop doing it with the paint. If you're Marcus Freeman, just do the turkey thing. Go get your hair transplants and be done with it.
Well, yeah, if he's in Turkey, he can't be recruiting.
Well,
maybe find you
we have FaceTime. We have Zoom.
A dude in Istanbul. I can play tackle, I guess.
A new quarterback has just hit the transfer portal. We'll talk about it coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Banger. Dolly Parton. We could just do an all Dolly week if we wanted to. I feel like that is what I would rather hear than Christmas music next week.
Does Dolly not have a Christmas album?
Of course she has Christmas
No,
songs.
I'm not saying that we couldn't do a Dolly Parton Christmas album. I would just say, Dolly Parton also makes me feel festive. Not just because you follow her on social media on Instagram.
Do I?
All right, relax.
If you guys have a little time in your day, look up the "Here You Come Again" a single album cover. Who let that dog in here?
Nobody leads the league in hornier for old women than you.
I love gams, man.
Bonk.
Okay, I will willingly take a bonk for Dolly.
I follow her because she's delightful, but also because nobody makes me feel more like I should be decorating for Christmas than Dolly Parton. It's always very ornate, always very over the top. I don't know. Do your families go all out for the Christmas decorations? Because my mom is the reason I don't decorate for Christmas. She is just an avalanche of nativity scenes, and she's bought these figurines like that. She sets up like a New York City Christmas, like they've got all these different buildings and stuff like that, little figures that she creates a snow scene around the tree or off to the side in the dining room. Again, it's lovely, it's festive, it makes her happy, so I'm for it. I just don't ever want to put up another Christmas decoration in my life after living with her.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I feel like that's where the magic is. Like when you walk into the mall at Christmas time, it feels magic because of the scenery. My grandma used to set up
the old women fighting over a crock pot that they're going to get for Christmas or something like that.
Love it.
I
Also
love
a
them
great
all at
place to
Christmas
pick up
time.
women, especially old ones. My grandma used to take the hearth at my grandpa's house and put down a sheet of cotton so it looked like it snowed.
Yep.
And it was an entire town, houses, bars.
That's what my mom does.
She had a frozen over lake that had figurines attached to magnets. And when you turned her town on, people would start figure skating. It's the only thing I wanted from my grandma's after she passed away. I still have it. I still make Cheyenne put that magnet ice skating figurine thing out every year, even if it's just sitting on our little glass side table.
My mom gave me my grandpa used to, he had a photography studio, but he also was very adept at making furniture and stuff like that. So he made a nativity scene like barn, like a homemade one that looks really, really lovely. And there's these little porcelain nativity scene figures that my mom, when I bought my house, said, well, you should have this for when you decorate for Christmas. And I think it's still in the box.
The Vols do not want a porcelain figurine playing for them, but they may have to figure something out with some opt-outs, Lucas.
No, we already did that segment.
Oh, I thought you said, there is a new quarterback in the transfer portal, and their team would not like to replace them with a porcelain figure, Lucas.
That's
Lucas.
right. In fact, Missouri will be replacing Bo Pribula
Back
with
to you in the studio.
I'll edit all this in post.
Matt Zollers will be the porcelain figure replacing Bo Pribula. Hopefully he can stay healthier than Pribula did, who dislocated his ankle against Vanderbilt in, around the midway point of the season. Bo Pribula has announced his intent to enter the transfer portal. Eli Drinkwitz has taken to Twitter with a graphic and image of Matt Zollers saying, "We are excited for Matt to be our quarterback of the Gator Bowl. He is ready," with a bunch of hashtags. So Matt Zollers will start against UVA, and Bo Pribula is another high-profile name added to the list. If you remember, he was the backup to Drew Aller. Penn State used him in a lot of packages last year. He had to hit the portal and miss Penn State's semifinal run in the playoff, and it was a big story at the time. Again, the calendar coming back around as a huge talking point. Lands at Mizzou, had a pretty productive season. Pribula was having a nice year before he went down. And
Against
now,
Vandy.
yeah, and so I don't know. Thank you for listening to the show. So I don't know what
It's the third time that's happened to me today.
went into this decision for Pribula. It's kind of out of the blue.
Damn it.
As someone who doesn't pay a ton of attention to Missouri football. So not sure if it's something between him and Drinkwitz, if he just thinks there will be greener pastures elsewhere. What if he just returns to Penn State? Like, he was supposed to be
They need one.
Right. Like, there was a thought throughout last year, I think, that Drew Aller, who was playing well last season and in hindsight probably should have declared for the NFL draft, that Drew Aller would have just handed the baton to Bo Pribula for 2025. Aller decided to come back. It went very poorly for him. Season ended in injury. Penn State season was dreadful. James Franklin fired. And I don't know what Drew Aller's NFL draft process or prospects look like, but I know it's worse than it would have been if he had just declared last year. When he would, what do you think Drew Aller would have been?
Last year?
Third or fourth? Is that too generous? I don't know. I mean,
third or fourth quarterback
off the board.
He would have probably went before Dart. I think
yeah,
he
was
was
a third or fourth quarterback. You think he could have gone as a first rounder?
It depends on the team. Oh yeah, I think he could have been a first rounder for sure.
Oof.
Who was between Dart and
Nobody.
Cam?
It was Dart.
Yes,
it was
he would have
Cam
been the
that
second
Straight to Dart in the late 20s.
Yeah. So I would imagine that. Again, it depends on the team that wants him. But I could have very easily seen a world in which somebody said, okay, late first round, I'll take a flyer.
Did not work out that way. And anyway, Bo Pribula. If I'm a Penn State fan, I'm like, come home, man. Matt Campbell's here. We're resetting this thing. Come home to your home state where you were supposed to be the prince who was promised originally.
Has that ever happened in the transfer portal era? Where a player has transferred, gone somewhere else, and then returned back to the program that they originally transferred from?
It's definitely happened. I'm having a hard time coming up with a lot of
You say
examples.
it's definitely happened?
It's definitely something that's happened.
Okay.
Yeah. I know there's examples that I am blanking on at the moment. In fact, I've seen kind of rumblings of Brendan Sorsby, like maybe going back to Indiana where he started his career before Kurt Signetti took over. Again, it feels like Texas Tech is the most commonly rumored place for him. Tech, Indiana, and potentially Tennessee. But it's definitely something that's happened. And if I'm a Penn State fan, I'd love to see it. But Bo Pribula, add it to the list. DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola, Kenny Minchie, all of these highly recruited guys that have played at varying levels of experience into the transfer portal after January begins.
Should Cam Ward? Oh, what, Robert? You have something?
No, Google AI is lame. I thought I found a quarterback that had left, started somewhere, left, and came back. Drew Pine at Notre Dame, Arizona State, then came back to Notre Dame.
I don't remember about Drew Pine, but that does remind me, Tyler Buckner did do that.
Oh, well, yeah. He had a stint as a lacrosse player in between.
Started at Notre Dame, went to Alabama, right back to Notre Dame to play lacrosse, and then was back on the Notre Dame football team. He's like their holder this year. So yes, it is something that has happened.
Should Cam Ward have a meaningful say?
Yeah, Stetson Bennett, too, left Georgia and came back. That was JUCO, but still.
In who the next Titans head coach is. We will talk about it coming up next.
Holiday season is not approaching. Holiday season is here. Christmas Day is a week away, and there's no better way to fuel your holiday party than with Hattie B's Hot Chicken. You may be doing a lot of cooking on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. You also may be having family come in a few days prior. You don't want to have to worry about 3 or 4 days of feeding your entire family, your friends that come over for the holidays. Just get yourself a couple of buckets of Hattie B's Hot Chicken Wings, couple of quarts of their incredible scratch-made sides. My personal favorite, the pimento mac and cheese, but you can't go wrong. You have the baked beans, you have the greens, you've got black-eyed peas, all of the fixins, and let Hattie B's make your life easier this holiday season. Head to HattieB.com. You can also let them fuel your tailgate or watch party with only a few games to go left in the 2025 football season. When you download the Hattie B's app today, you get a free dessert. Just for downloading the app, can start to build up those rewards. Order for pickup at any one of their 7 Middle Tennessee locations or delivery, and make your holidays hot with Hattie B's. 12:01, good afternoon from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. The first Titans injury report of the week is out. Linebacker Cedric Gray did not practice with a concussion. Guard Kevin Zeitler missed practice with a groin. Amani Hooker with an illness. And Van Jefferson did not practice with a back injury. On Tuesday, the Titans designated outside linebackers Femi Oladejo and Ali Gay, as well as wide receiver Bryce Oliver, to return off of injured reserve. The Titans host the Chiefs Sunday at Nissan Stadium. In college football news, more quarterback transfer portal news, as Missouri quarterback Bo Pribula is set to enter the transfer portal in January. The former Penn State quarterback will look for a new home. Missouri will move forward in the Gator Bowl against Virginia with freshman Matt Zollers. The Nashville Predators fell at home to the Hurricanes 4-1 the final Wednesday. The 3-game homestand continues tomorrow as they host Toronto, and Thursday Night Football is in the NFC West. The Rams visit the Seahawks, a matchup of 11-3 teams. Winner takes the lead in the division. Kickoff at 7:15. You can hear the Westwood One call right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
So Cam Ward spoke to the media yesterday, and while he does have 3 more games to play in his rookie season, and while we should at some point talk about some of the rookie records that Cam Ward is getting ready to break, because he has made all of his starts so far. God forbid he sustains some kind of injury in the next 3 weeks that prevents him from doing that. But if he ends up starting a full 17-game regular season in his first NFL season, it would be a tremendous accomplishment, and it would put him above Marcus Mariota in a handful of categories, not just because of the extra game, but worth getting into at some point in time. But the Chiefs game is not that important. We understand that the Chiefs have been eliminated from postseason contention. I heard a funny joke, or I saw a funny joke on Twitter the other day. Who'd have thought that the Dolphins would still be in postseason contention longer than the Kansas City Chiefs this year? It was by a day, but still. The Chiefs losing to the Chargers, Dolphins not eliminated until Monday Night Football. Their loss to the Steelers. But that's just been the kind of year that it is. So, in the absence of actual importance of this upcoming game on Sunday, the coaching search seems to occupy a great deal of space in the average Titans fan's head. Understandably so. We're getting close to that time. We're about a month away from a hire being made. And it's the first time that we've really talked to Cam about the next head coach was yesterday at the podium. So let's hear from Cam Ward, Robert, at your convenience, on is it all 3 of these questions in one sequence, or is it just one?
It is 2 questions.
Okay, so 2 questions, a back and forth yesterday at Cam Ward's media availability, where he was asked about worrying about the future without knowing who the next head coach is going to be, and would he like some say?
I want to meet all of them. Every coach who's going to get the opportunity to come here, I want to meet them, have conversations throughout the whole process with them, because that's someone that I'm going to be here with, for that time. So we got to just continue to, me being around and being open to no matter whoever we try to hire, because I know at the end of the day, who we do hire is going to be the right fit for us. Whether it's a defensive person or offensive person, they're going to make sure that every person, in the right place and make sure that every person is set up for success.
Have you had conversations already with Mike and Chad about wanting to be involved with this, or maybe what some of the qualities you might want?
Yeah, I've had conversations with them about wanting to be involved. They know how much I want to be involved. And then especially just not even with the scheme part of it, just, as the head coach, who he is on an everyday basis. And then we'll get into, the scheme, what, I know I'm good at, what I want to do, what he thinks, will also help me.
Now, there's some naivete in that, because he's saying, I know whoever we hire is going to be the right person for us, essentially. And he doesn't know that. And, in fact, they've gotten it wrong the last couple of times around. But it's just something you say. No, I'm just saying. Like, you don't know that.
No, you don't. But it's just something you say.
No, I get it. But it's something that he said and he doesn't know. And I think it speaks to naivete about the way that this place runs.
Equally as naive to look at that and say, look how naive the quarterback is, saying he believes the next coach will be the right fit.
I'm sorry, Lucas. Do his words matter? Yes or no? We're talking about his words here. Of course, it's just something that you say. And I'm not saying that he needs to come out and be like, well, I sure hope they get it right this time around. But you don't have to say anything about that at all. You just have to say, yeah, I want to be involved.
Yeah, but he's done that at every turn. Top 10 wide receiver core. All
yeah, sure.
He expresses confidence. I'm never going to take issue with that.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's the same response as, are you sure you're going to have a top 5 receiving core this year, bud? Because I think that you are in for a bit of a rocky ride. But either way, that's not the important part. The important part is, prior to him being asked about it yesterday, he has expressed an interest in being involved in the coaching search. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think he's asking to run the search. I don't think he's asking to have any kind of, definitive final say, like, do I get the final stamp of approval because I'm the number 1 overall pick? Because I think some people had, Twitter's a terrible place and Twitter is not the real world, thank God. But a lot of the responses to this commentary on Twitter were, well, where does he get off? This is entitlement. This is not something he hasn't earned the right to have any level of input if you want to go to extremes on it. I disagree with that. He is more in danger of having his career ruined. The Titans will exist even if they make a bad coaching hire. Cam Ward can be harmed professionally if they do not make the right decision around him, if it's a decision that he's not at least largely comfortable with. Do you give him a meaningful say? Like a meaningful say, not just, sure, bud, who do you want? And we'll take that into consideration. And then you go and pick whoever you want, if you're Brinker or Borgonzi or Amy. Do you give him a meaningful say? Because he's not just your average rookie quarterback. He's the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
I was curious about this because in the last, obviously, 2 years, the rookie quarterback that was selected number 1 overall had his coach fired, right? Bryce Young and last year, Caleb Williams. So I kind of did a little bit of digging on reporting around those coaching searches and how much they did or did not involve the young quarterbacks. So going back to the Panthers, after Frank Reich was let go, Bryce Young, terrible 2023 rookie season as the number 1 pick. The Athletic here, this is Joseph Person of The Athletic, on an article about the Panthers coaching search, which ended up with Dave Canales coming in. The Panthers stayed in touch with Young's representatives throughout the search. A source close to Young and his representation said the number 1 pick is optimistic about Canales and likes that he's young with a strong track record with quarterbacks. So nothing more than the Panthers kept Bryce Young abreast of every update in the coaching search.
He's saying he wants to meet every candidate, though.
Yes. Last year, when the Bears were searching for Matt Eberflus's replacement, ends up being Ben Johnson, the best offensive candidate on the board as the OC of the Lions. Jordan Schultz was reporting on the coaching search at the time, and he put out in a tweet, I believe, quote, about whether or not Caleb Williams would have a say. They're going to give him an offensive coach, I believe, but he's not going to have a say in the hiring. So that's what Jordan Schultz said. He said, it's not like he's going to Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles saying, give me Ben Johnson.
Right.
He's not going to influence the decision in that capacity. I don't know how much precedent there is in having the quarterback's voice carry as much weight as the GM or the president of football ops or whoever actually conducts the hiring process. Of course, in my mind, it's worth the conversation. To me, that seems like a logical part of the interview process, right? Your prospective head coach and a relationship with the quarterback.
Closer to the end of the process as opposed to like, hey, let me meet all 20 candidates that you bring through.
Yeah, no, you don't want his head spinning. Like Cam Ward's got a big offseason ahead. Yeah. But yeah, like when you get down to some finalists, that seems logical to me to see how these candidates vibe with the most important player on the roster for the next couple of years.
See, here's the thing that I took away from it. I liked his answer.
But it was naive.
Well, the part of it. I liked his answer because it shows me that he wants to be invested in how this thing moves forward. That he is, and of course, you would just assume that he is genuinely invested in how this thing wants to move forward. But I don't know. I mean, at some point, are we going to talk about the Burrow stuff? Because Burrow keeps fanning the flames on that. if you're paying attention to Cincinnati. Robert, I didn't get a chance to watch that Zach Taylor press conference that you sent us, but you said it was very uncomfortable.
He got hammered.
Oh, by the media.
Yes, about his job. Nothing to do with Joe Burrow. But do you foresee yourself working here? How often do you talk to ownership? When you talk to ownership, does this come up? And he gave one answer, and then after that, he shut down every single question regarding his job. It's the first minute and 30 of his press conference, if anybody is interested. But it was the biggest grilling I've seen about something to an NFL coach in a while, to the point of where he was like, guys, I'm not going to answer any more questions about my future. I coach every game like it's my last. If they want to fire me, then they're going to fire me.
But Burrow doing what he's doing is turning up the heat on that.
100%.
Because it makes you have to press Zach Taylor on, do you want this person being the person responsible for your future? Burrow's not helping that situation.
No, he seems pretty miserable.
Let me see if I can find the clip of him yesterday, Joe Burrow talking about it, because I thought he was more despondent in those answers than he was in the previous week.
In the not having fun statements?
Well,
yes.
it's the back-to-back of the not having fun and then them getting shut out by the Ravens, who have not had a tremendous year defensively. Now, you can be good in any one-game sample size, but him being like, I'm just not having fun anymore. Yeah. And then going out there and looking like that.
And throwing 2 picks, including a pick 6. While Robert does that, real quick, Bill Barnwell ranked 8 potential and currently open head coaching openings in the NFL. They are...
Well, wait, do that tomorrow. We got a whole show tomorrow, bud.
Yeah, we can do it tomorrow.
Calm down. Are you in a rush?
I'm always in a rush.
We're doing off-season radio in the middle of the football season.
I like where your head's at, though. I like where your head's at. Joe Burrow yesterday talking to the media.
Always in a rush. Also not true at all.
The reporter said, is there any world you're not the quarterback of the Bengals next year?
In your mind, where you're not the quarterback of the Bengals next year?
I can't see that, no.
Have you ever thought about the possibility of not being the quarterback here during your career, or...
You think about a lot of things.
When you look at quarterbacks over the course of their time, great ones, Peyton, Brady, you kind of have to understand that you never know what this league will bring. And what did you learn from watching how their careers unfolded?
Yeah, a lot of crazy things happen every year. Micah Parsons got traded right before the season, I think this year. That is something I hadn't seen in a long time in the NFL, so crazy things can happen.
5's bad.
That dude is destined to be elsewhere. Also, anytime I hear I just picture Peter with the long nails in that Family Guy sketch, like, no, I can talk. I'm not busy.
He's like the executive assistant.
Yeah. Keep waiting to hear like the typewriter. Ching.
It makes me think of 2 people. It makes me think of John Glennon and Joe Rexrode, because the 2 of them, they both, for a period of time, worked for The Athletic, and for some reason, The Athletic's work issued laptops. The keyboards would just go out, so both Rexrode and Glennon had, like, attachments. They would bring whole-ass keyboards to the press conference to plug into their laptops so that they could type away vigorously at the press conference. One of the most annoying things ever. Nate Washington, not annoying. He's next.
I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. I'll be home for Christmas. If only in my dreams.
Selling your home can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the #1 real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com today.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, and Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
One of the largest sports books east of the Mississippi, Circa Sports Kentucky, is now open. Catch all your favorite games on an 80-foot screen with stadium-style seating and live VSiN broadcast daily. Circa Sports, now open at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
My dad and I used to golf together all the time, but when he hurt his back, it was over.
To have your son want to spend time with you is amazing. That's why my chronic back pain has been so heartbreaking. Surgery, fused bones, long recovery. No way, not for me. A friend recommended stem cells, so I gave Kellum Stem Cell Institute a call.
I'm glad you're out on the course.
Yeah, it's really good.
Call the Kellum Stem Cell Institute today. Swing still looks just okay though.
Let's face it, buying a vehicle should be straightforward and stress-free, and that's exactly how Two Rivers Ford has been doing business for decades. This locally owned dealership has a non-commissioned sales team whose only focus is to find you the right vehicle at the right price without the pressure. So you'll actually have a fun car buying experience. Great prices, easy financing, and a non-commissioned sales team. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. The best of us is Nate Washington. He's certainly the best published author on the show. Football Was My Father is the book, available for your stocking stuffer needs ahead of the holiday season in the Amazon bookstore. Nate, good to see you. A lot of the dialogue around Cam Ward and his recent comments yesterday, I saw you take to Twitter in response to some of the responses that you've seen. Now, I know that you are a wise and nuanced person, and that Twitter is quite the opposite of those things, but you seem surprised by the way that people had such strong reactions about Cam Ward one way or the other.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see you guys too, man. What's up, Lucas? What's up, Buck, man? Another week, so I'm glad to be back with you guys. But yeah, definitely. I think obviously, as you stated, there's not a lot of intellectual conversations being held on Twitter, which is understandable, being that it's a social media platform. But I do sometimes get in the midst of things and want to address them. And this is definitely one of the things that I wanted to address after seeing some of the comments about people suggestions or thoughts about Cam Ward's want to be included into this next head coaching hire. And I think, when you look at the landscape of what this team has been over the past maybe decade, you look at the position in itself, and outside of Ryan Tannehill, there's absolutely been no stability. And in that situation, you want a guy that's going to come in, a rookie with a promising future, and want to be involved with this organization in every facet. And for me, that's commendable, because especially in a lot of guys, especially being so young, it's neither here nor there for them. They really don't care who's going to be the next head coach and hire. They're going to go out just to go play ball, so they don't see things as a bigger picture. But it's obvious that Cam has an understanding that this is his career. This next coach could be the deciding factor of his career. And while he's not, I think a lot of also fans need to understand that he's not going to be the end-all decision maker on who's going to be the next hire. But I do think it's important that he has some type of relationship and ability to connect with the next head coach prior to that hiring. As I stated, this is all going to be a situation where it can predict the future of his career, and not only for his career, but the success of this organization moving forward. And I think it's quite strange that people can judge his game. People can analyze, what he's doing on Sundays, but don't understand that coaching is a huge part of that. Being able to be put in a position to be successful is important. And having that connection with the next guy is going to be important for him to move forward and continue to progress, to give this team an opportunity to do something great, maybe go to the playoffs and one day have a shot at the Lombardi. So it's important that he has some type of input, some type of connection with this next coaching staff prior to them being hired. But I think fans need to also understand he is not the decision maker. He's just another asset that can be used for that decision at the end of the day to make sure that he has some type of connection with the guys.
No, and it's not like it's not like he came out and said it independently of being asked. He simply responded to questions about that, Nate, which also seems to have gotten lost in some of the dialogue around this. And I did think it was notable that in responding to one of those questions, he had already had a conversation or conversations like that with Chad Brinker, who's the president of football operations, and Mike Borgonzi, who's the general manager, which means that he's proactively thinking about this. It would be impossible not to. But I wonder if you've obviously have a lot of connections with players around the league who have played not just for organizations that you've played with, but other guys who have been in other places. And it's different in 31 other scenarios, no matter what you think the similar experience might be. And there are some commonalities in the NFL player experience. It very much can depend on the organization that you are playing for at the time. Do you think young guys have become more cognizant of the idea that you can't just go to an organization and trust them implicitly to do right by you, given all the churn that we've seen with young players, specifically the quarterbacks?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think a lot of kids that are coming into this league understand that this is a business at the end of the day. It's no longer about just playing football and having talent, going out and showing up on the field. It's no longer about that. There's a lot of business that goes behind scenes that a lot of, outsiders are not privy to. And understanding that as a young guy coming in, that's the most important thing. I had the opportunity to speak to the Atlanta Falcons rookies a couple weeks ago, and that was one of the main things that I was was stressing to them, the importance of understanding that this is a business. You're not just a talented football player anymore. You are now an independent contractor as a business, and it's important that your future is set up not only by you being involved with that, but also understanding the direction of your organization and what they're trying to accomplish with their player personnel. So I think it's very important. As you stated, a lot of these young guys, they understand the dynamics of these business-oriented moves by these organizations, and they don't want to no longer put themselves in a position where their careers can be a lot shorter than they should be. I think they're giving themselves a chance by introducing themselves into the business world of the game itself and giving them an opportunity to continue to connect with the organization as far as the future aspects of where that organization is trying to grow.
Former Titans wide receiver Nate Washington here with us on 104.5 The Zone. By the way, he's got a live book signing event for those of you in the Toledo, Ohio area coming up next month. At the end of next month, you can go to eventbrite.com. Nate Washington live to get your copy of Football Was My Father signed by the man himself.
I feel like there's a lot
and
of...
We're actually working on an event for Nashville as well, too, coming up here. I've been able to talk to Keith Bullock, and he's fired up about having me be a part of a couple of his businesses. So Nashville, I want you to get ready for that as well. We're working on it, and I promise I'll be putting that together soon for you guys.
All right, keep an eye out, Nashville. You heard the man himself.
I feel like there's a lot of Toledo representation on this show. Brett Kern comes in here twice a week. I have a fiance in Toledo. Nate Washington is a native of Toledo, the Glass City.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir, man. I think we hold it. We hold it well, man. We bump into a lot of good Toledo people around here.
Nate, how long did it take before you felt like you had your feet under you in the NFL? From your rookie year onwards, was there sort of a line of demarcation almost where you feel like you learned, okay, this is how you operate as an NFL player?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely a growing process for me personally. My personal story in itself, coming from Tiffin University, there was a lot of things that I had to learn. Not only the business end of it, but also the preparation. The weight room, the film study. I came from a level of football that I was able to they threw that ball out there. I was able to go do whatever I wanted to in a lot of ways. So coming into this league, a lot of guys don't understand. You leave from playing collegiate ball where you're playing against future pharmacists, future contractors, you're playing against lawyers, you're playing against guys that will move on in different industries that have nothing to do with athletics. But when you get to the NFL, everybody is that guy. Everybody is physically talented, everybody is strong, everybody is fast. And you're not just going to be able to go out there and be talented, more talented than everybody. It's a lot of this game is IQ, and you have to learn the game inside out to give yourself an ability to succeed. And for me personally, it was a long road. I was fortunate enough to grow up in Pittsburgh where you have a lot of mentors and a lot of guys that'll show you the ropes, introduce the game to you on a professional level of how to conduct yourself, what is expected of you, how to conduct yourself in public. I think a lot of these young guys are in need of good mentors within the locker room to show them the way. And when you don't have that veteran in your locker room or in your specific room in itself, it's a struggle. So for me personally, Lucas, it took me about maybe 5 years to really get my feet under me. And after my 5th year, understanding when I came to Tennessee and I was a starter, I was making a lot more money than I did in Pittsburgh, the requirements were different. I couldn't just go out there and be the third guy that was making a normal play every now and again. I had to be the reliable guy that they can always rely on. And I remember my first year in Tennessee, the 5th year of my career, kind of facing a little bit of media scrutiny about, my address to the game and my preparation and those type of things. And it wasn't something that I can get mad at. It was something that I had to reflect on and truly understand, look myself in the mirror and grasp the expectations of what was, there for me then. And it took me a minute, but I think after my 5th year, I understood, the professionalism and the requirements of the game that I was now playing, and it helped me continue my career to make it to 11 years, and it really panned out for me. But a lot of those guys, it all pans on to your mentors, the guys that you have in the locker room, the guys that you have in your personal room, no matter what position you play, that shows you the ropes and makes you understand what being a professional is all about.
Think about that, no, because it's very it's very relatable, the idea that you would spend, in any profession, whether it's pro football or media or, like you said, contractor or whatever the case may be, to get a couple of years of experience before you truly feel fully confident, comfortable, secure in the way that you need to go about it. Except in the NFL, where the average career, I think, after the pandemic is less than 3 years, right? So guys, and understanding that guys get weeded out because of skill and all manner of other things, that there is a process that sees dudes, cycled through, for lack of a better term, beyond just the time that it takes to actually feel prepared and ready. And I'm not saying that 5 years is specific to anybody but you. It may be 4 for some, it may be 6 for others, right? We don't allow for that kind of margin in the NFL. That incubation period is certainly for quarterbacks is non-existent. Hell, for coaches, they don't last 3 years anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you even look at the Tua situation that's going on right now. You get guys in that position that have been successful in their college careers, and they get on the professional level, and there's a totally different requirement of expectation of level of play, and at that very moment, there's not a lot of guys that get second chances. You look at Sam Darnold, you look at Baker Mayfield, and the ability to go to different organizations and get another chance to succeed in those positions. But a lot of times those things don't happen. And as you stated, even before the pandemic, I think the expectation of NFL players was 3 years. It's unfortunate, man, but it's a business, and they kind of cut a lot of guys off right before you're able to maintain a pension level. So that's a lot of the things that goes on with that situation as well. And as I know, for the time that I've been in and the time that I've been retired, amongst my peers, we've always quoted the NFL as being not for long, because you don't have many opportunities to go out and continue to correct the things that you may have not have done right in the previous time. So, when you look at this situation of a quarterback position, especially with Cam being in the position that he's in, you want to make sure you get it right the first time. And I think he's been progressing throughout this season, and it's going to be important for a guy under the center to make sure that there's some type of solid foundation for him to build from moving forward from here, because as you stated, you don't have many chances being in that position, and you want to make the most out of it the first time.
At NWash85 is where you can follow Nate Washington.
So kind of going back to Cam Ward and his comments on wanting to be involved in the coaching search, I am curious to get your perspective from when you were here and the Titans moved on from Mike Munchak to bring in Ken Whisenhunt. Now, Jake Locker was still in his rookie contract. I guess he never left his rookie contract before he retired medically. And the Titans exercised the 5th-year option for him in year 1 of the Whisenhunt era. So maybe it was different, right, Nate? It was kind of a make-or-break situation for Jake Locker going into the year 1 of Wiz, as opposed to Cam Ward, who's still a rookie and trying to figure out kind of what he is. But what do you remember about that time, just the involvement, how much was being communicated to you guys, maybe as much as you can speak on how much was being communicated to Jake as the young quarterback in the situation during that process?
Well, I think, unfortunately, at that time, we had a lot of instability. It was a situation where I don't think the organization at that time even knew what they wanted to do with the front office. After Bud passed, and may he rest in peace of that situation, and then we bring in Tommy, and Tommy leaves, and it was kind of, I hate to say it, refer to it in this manner, but it was kind of mayhem. Everything was just, trying to throw things against the wall and figure out what stuck, But I don't know. I can't speak on Jake's behalf in regards to, how they included him on that next coaching hire. But I know me in the position that I was in at that time, there was absolutely no communication at all from the organization about the direction that they wanted to go to with their head coach. I think at the end of the day, during that specific period of time, they were just trying to make sure they had a solid team out there and a viable coach that could put us in position. I don't know if they did any cross-referencing with any of the players at that time, giving them the ability to give the facts that they would like to give, or, to meet the coaching, or to have any input or insight on the next move that they wanted to make. I think it was more so them just making a decision and us going from there. Unfortunately, as you see, Wiz only lasted 1 year. He lasted 1.5 years, and then he was a next coach in, with trying to bring in Malarkey as the intern head coach at that time. So there was a situation, man, at that time, I think, for the organization of them just really finding their way through in the dark with no flashlight. If that's the best way I can explain it, and it didn't work out for him, So I think fans need to understand, when you had a situation like that in your past, you would hope that things will be handled differently moving forward. And this is the opportunity to handle things differently here, moving forward with the next head coach that they'll be hiring. So I think, Amy has a huge decision ahead in front of her. Mike and the other guys have some huge decisions to make, but at the end of the day, I hope that they understand that they have a solid foundation on both sides of the ball with Cam and Jeffrey Simmons as players, and they include those guys because it's going to be imperative. I often speak too about, how often it is that the Titans don't have guys that they draft that retire in Titans jerseys. You look at Jarrell Casey and his situation, I would have loved to see Jarrell finish his career in Tennessee, but those type of things happen business-wise, and you're hopefully looking at a situation where you can build not only identity, but a culture upon what you want this organization to be moving forward, involving the necessary players and getting the right fit for the head coach that can give you some longevity and not just be a revolving door where you're looking for another head coach within the next 2 to 3 years.
It's such an important offseason for them to get this right across the board, to avoid going down, not quite a similar path as they did during that time period in the Tommy Smith era. I mean, my God, I can't imagine what a mess that was to be on the inside, on the outside, all around the organization. And since then, things have been rectified to an extent, but they need to get themselves out of this rut, and I hope, to your point, that they understand the critical nature of that. We always appreciate Nate Washington's visits. Eventbrite.com is where you can find out more information about his book signing event next month in Toledo, and as he said, keep an eye out at NWash85 for a potential announcement on a Nashville situation and just for a fun follow. He's a great follow on social media. There's a lot of dumb things on social media. Nate Washington, not one of them. We appreciate you, buddy.
Man, I have fun with you guys every week, man. Thanks for having me again. We'll see you next week.
That's the man, Nate Washington. I'm going to be sad when these weekly visits with Ben and Nate and Brett end at the end of the regular season.
Well, you can still visit them on weekends. You can still see them, buddy. It's okay. They're not going anywhere.
I'm upset that I get to keep the two of you in the off-season divorce as opposed to them.
No, I think it would be fun to watch Brett sit in Lucas's chair and have Ben back here working the board. I think that would be great.
We could test that out for multiple days or weeks on end.
Yeah, maybe a month. You guys do anything in February? The shortest one.
Well, we're trying to. We're trying to do something in February. We'll keep you updated on that as more information becomes available. Last call for phone calls. If you've got them, we'll wrap up the show coming up next. Last call for phone calls if you got them. 615-737-1045 is the number. We were just talking about this freak that Florida has at center. 7'9". Olivier Roux, is that how we pronounce it? R-I-O-U-X. He's Canadian.
I believe that's correct. We'll say it is.
Close enough. He was getting headlines last night because, one, he is 7'9", outrageous, and he recorded his first collegiate dunk last night in a 102-61 victory against St. Francis, mighty St. Francis.
My favorite Saint.
Yeah?
Oh, by far the coolest Saint.
Oh, yeah, easily. Easily.
St. Francis of Assisi.
He is the world's tallest teenager. Oh, no, never mind. I thought he would be the world's tallest teenager to ever score a collegiate dunk, but it just says that he is the world's tallest teenager.
That's more impressive.
Isn't Manute Bol's son bigger than that Bol?
He's not a teenager anymore.
Well, yeah,
so
but at the time.
Right. It's like kids next door. Like once you reach a certain age, like you're no longer allowed to be technically 19. I think the teenager cutoff is 18. 19 is irrelevant.
Bol is 7'3".
Oh, God.
Guys, so he towers over Bol.
How tall is Shaq? Because I saw a video of Olivier Roux and Shaq, and Roux looks to Shaq like Shaq does to normal people.
7'1".
Oh. 8
That's
inches taller than Shaq.
God, what a miserable existence that must be. Like a world built for regular-sized people, like him getting on a plane, him finding pants, him getting things off the bottom shelf of the grocery store. Like,
oh, my God, having to reach down for things. Nightmare.
Tie your shoes. To tie your... He should be a Croc sponsored athlete. So just for the simple fact that I would never want to tie my shoes.
I mean, it's like if a short king had a wish with a genie, and he said, "I wish I was tall," and it just went horribly wrong.
Why was that?
Not this tall. Not this tall.
Why are you doing that to short kings? They don't all sound like that.
Come on. I know a bunch of short kings with deep voices just like this.
Those are projections.
Fair enough.
That's their Napoleon complex coming out.
Hendon Hooker has been signed by the Jets practice squad.
Lucky him.
Yeah. There's your developmental spot.
Thought your NFL career was over, did you? Come on down to the Jets.
Started Brady Cook. The Jets did against the Jags last weekend.
They're going to again, it sounds like.
Okay. Did not go well. But, all right, good to see him get another opportunity, I guess.
Sure.
Before he heads to the insurance test line.
The insurance test line?
Yeah,
what is that?
Where you take a test to see if you could sell insurance.
Oh, are you saying that his career is over?
I wouldn't say that.
If you end up on the Jets practice squad, maybe a poll. If you end up on the Jets practice squad, is your career actually over?
That's the thing that we always say about people, like, oh, they're going to go sell insurance. But I wonder if any NFL players have actually gone on to sell insurance.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, isn't that like Nationwide's whole thing? Like they employ
former athletes.
So many former athletes, as former collegiate athletes.
That was
their big thing.
That was definitely an enterprise thing.
Maybe Enterprise is who I'm thinking of. Enterprise is the rental car company.
Well, his major was public relations, and he pursued a master's in agriculture leadership, education, and communication at Tennessee.
Oh, agriculture leadership?
That's what it is listed as.
What are the
maybe he would work for farmers.
Prereqs for that?
Bum. Because they sell insurance.
Is that what you were setting up the whole time?
Yes, I was. But that was actually his master's.
I was scrolling through Instagram during one of the commercial breaks, and have you seen what French farmers are doing to French politicians right now?
No.
They are dumping manure in front of the homes of French politicians. I guess it's some kind of strike situation.
Dude, the French
don't play games,
I
man.
love how they protest.
Remember, they had like a woman's protest in front of the Lou or something like that, where all the women were like...
Not the Lou.
Well, the Lou. Well, it was the Lou. They were all naked. It was the Lou.
It was in front of a bathroom?
Yeah. Well, make your own. Or remember when in the Olympics, it was like, oh, you're going to swim in the river. And they were like, everyone pee and poop in the river.
Everyone dumped their poop in the river. It forced the city to clean the damn river.
The French and fecal matter.
They know how to protest, man.
It seems to be a go-to move of them. The fecal matter is an effective tool of protest, it seems.
That's so great.
Chuck in Clarksville is our last call of the day.
Hey, guys. Hey, just a couple of prognostications that probably won't come true, but I can see Probilla heading to St. Louis and then hooking on to 64 and heading across to Lexington to be on Will Stein's staff, with him at Kentucky. He's the type of player that Stein would probably like. And then my other prognostication is I see the Titans signing Matt Nagy as coach and possibly Zach Taylor as offensive coordinator.
Okay. Thank you for the call. He's talking about Bo Pribula or Pribula.
Yes, Bo Pribula. He suggests Kentucky.
Why would they not just go with Cutter Bowley?
Yeah, I mean, he did some nice things, but Will Stein comes in. His team, his offense.
Sure.
So I imagine he will want his guy in there, and Bo Pribula is a much more attractive situation at quarterback than Cutter Bowley.
Polls, please.
We'll just hold on 1 second. You know,
Real quick, Rams, Seahawks tonight. Who we got?
Oh, yeah.
Seahawks -1.5 at home.
Rams won the first matchup, even though the Seahawks kept it close, despite what Darnold had 4 interceptions in the previous game.
Will had a good stat this morning. There's only been like 5 quarterbacks in NFL history who have thrown 4 interceptions against a team and then came back and won the rematch. I can't remember their names. That would probably be helpful, but not been a lot of them.
I mean, I think it's hard to beat a team twice in a season. I would probably take the Seahawks. Although he's not playing, he's not bad, but he's not playing great lately, Darnold.
Matt Stafford right now is the favorite to win NFL MVP.
He should be.
He is -260 on FanDuel. Drake May +380.
Do we know if Devontae Adams is going to play?
He is not playing.
Okay. I will also take the Seahawks.
Okay, let's go.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Should Cam Ward have a say in the Titans' search for a new head coach? 58.5% say yes.
Yeah, I mean, some input is fine. And a desire to have some part in the conversation is also fine. He's not asking to take over the coaching search and handpick his guy.
What trait should the Titans prioritize in the next head coach? Zone Reed says proven winner. I'm not saying they can get a proven winner, but that's not what the question is asking. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Larry says an experienced head coach.
Yeah, I mean, just having done the job before, that would be the worst case scenario. Somebody who has not done this job before in this specific job. I just don't think you can afford to have that kind of drop off, that kind of learning curve again. It was a disaster.
Clay says discipline and toughness.
Sure. That matters.
Kaz says experience, no more projects.
Yeah, I mean, I guess any first-time head coach is going to be considered a project. But, Brian, in fairness to them at the time, and frankly, I mean, I said that Brian Callahan would have been my preferred choice for coach. They clearly thought he was a viable candidate. I don't think anybody could have imagined that it would have gone as badly as it did. I mean, he is the worst coach in the history of the team, yes?
Yes. Yes, by the results, yes. What is the biggest reason, not the most hated coach in the history of the team, but by the results?
He is the worst.
What is the biggest reason that the Titans offense looks better in the last month? Cam Ward, Tony Pollard, coaching or offensive line play. 52% say O-line play. So pretty big majority of the votes going there. I think I would agree. Second most votes went to Tony Pollard with just over 24%.
I would agree with that order as well.
Xbox Bowl, Missouri State, Arkansas State, a winning record on the line for the Red Wolves. Who do we got?
Not Butch Jones.
Yeah. Whichever one is not Butch Jones, and that would be Missouri State. Arkansas State, 1.5-point favorites in Frisco.
Okay.
Brick by brick, baby.
At the
He's
Cowboys
gonna do
practice facility.
Butch has got it in the bag, baby.
What, he's got bricks in the bag? He's just going to take a bag of bricks and hit somebody with it?
That's how I got it done.
I hope the players at least all get Xboxes.
They do. Did you not see the announcement? They went absolutely bonkers. Everyone gets an Xbox.
Also, you're the one paying for it with the Russian leaked information where they tried to purchase Xboxes.
Yes. I just hope they have fun.
That is going to do it for us today. Prime time at 6 o'clock tonight before Thursday Night Football. Robert and I will see you then. Have a great rest of your afternoon. You can stick right here on The Zone for Blaine and Zach and 3HL on after that.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.